Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, children of all ages, the show must go on, and it will begin momentarily. Get your cocktails ready. That's what I'm doing.
Looking a little ordinary? Is it lacking something awesome? Well, head out to your local liquor store and pick up something extraordinary. Grab a bottle of Old Humble Straight Whiskey or Old Humble Special Reserve. They're clean, smooth, easy drinking whiskeys that taste the way whiskey should taste. From humble beginnings to an extraordinary finish, Old Humble whiskeys are what your bar needs today. Walk tall, be awesome, and drink humble. Old Humble Straight Whiskey and Old Humble Special Reserve. Get yours today.
How about now? Did that work? That worked. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I fixed the damn audio problem. Just like that. Where's my microphone? There it is. Let's put it over here. Let's have it over here on this side. Do that. Put it right there. On that side of my lapel. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, children of all ages, welcome to the show. We're here. I am the Old Humble Distilling, the Old Humble guy, the owner and operator, the curator of, what the hell you call me? The owner and operator of the Old Humble Distilling Company, the master distiller, head bottle washer, the chief, was all that thumping happening? God. Show after all. I keep watching what's going on here. Is that better? Did I fix it? Okay, I think I fixed it. I'm going to put this in my pocket again. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers, sisters, children of all ages, welcome back to the show. I'm going to try and not be a complete and total bot tonight. I'm going to try and make it a fun show, try and make it exciting and interesting. We're at 861 subscribers. Whatever that means. Adjust the camera down just a little bit. There we go. We are here in the Old Humble Distilling Company's quarantine pandemic studio, post-pandemic, post-apocalyptic studio, I guess is what it would be. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. I got that there. Here's a hat. If you want a hat, we can get one online at our company store, oldhumbledistilling.com. This is my rye. This is what my opening shot will be tonight. And this behind me is my bar, along with my trophy case up here. If you're new here, thanks for showing up. Thanks for coming out. This is what we normally do on Wednesday nights. I usually have a specific topic picked for the show. Last week, we were talking about cocktails. The week before that, we talked about, I don't know. I don't remember what it was. Ward 8 cocktail, I think what it was. Yeah, I talk about cocktails the first half of the show. I don't have a cocktail for the first half of the show. Oh, anyway, sorry. Cheers. I also do some housekeeping and house cleaning. Our housekeeping stuff today. Friday nights live with Ryan Adam Wells this Friday. Next week, we do not have a musical artist booked yet. I thought I had a musical artist booked, but I had apparently forgot to tell that musical artist, and we just don't have that day booked. So, I don't know. I don't know what we'll be doing next week. Tomorrow night, we have trivia with the talented and brilliant Miss Lisa Linney as our scorekeeper and co-host. Friday, I will be doing the show solo. I'll be running my own bar and doing my own show, operating my own thing and stuff. Cheers to the person who was in chat who bailed out on chat. It was glad to have you around. Glad to have you there. Whatever. But this week I don't have a topic because I don't have a topic. I don't have a cocktail. But we are going to talk about one specific cocktail. So that's our housekeeping stuff. Wednesday nights we do a live show. Thursday nights we do trivia. Friday nights we do live music. Live original music. Oh yeah, add them to my list of shit to complain about tonight. CSAC. Because CSAC is a pile of foreskins. And I hate them. CSAC. SESAC. They are a bag of rotting foreskins is what CSAC is. Not because of, well, we'll get into why I hate them in a little while. I had our road show scheduled for starting today, as a matter of fact. I had the road show of Total Wines scheduled starting today, but apparently the work that I put in to schedule the road show way back at the beginning of September just completely vanished like a fart in the wind, and our road show for Total Wines has been unscheduled. I thought it was scheduled, but it is not scheduled, so there's no road show to Total Wines throughout the city of Houston and the state of Texas. But I'll be scheduling up a road show for the other one, Specs, coming up next month. So there you go. I'm going to pour myself a proper mixed drink. I'm going to have, this is a glass with a cube of ice, a big cube of ice. I like the big blocks of ice. The physics of a big block of ice is that the volume is larger than the surface area. As it gets bigger, the volume cubes and the surface area squares. So if you double the volume, the surface area, or if you double the size of a cube, the surface area goes up by 4, the volume goes up by 8. Okay? So if you go from 2, the sides from a 2-inch square to a 4-inch square, it goes from, and you multiply that by 2, or even if you go from 1 inch to 2 inch, if you double the size, it goes, the volume goes up by 8. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 1 times 1 is 1. So it goes from 1 cubic unit to 8 cubic units if you double the size. So volume goes up faster than surface area, but that surface area is the part, like the coldness lasts longer, but the surface area melts slower. So it stays in your drink longer, and it keeps your drink colder longer. That's the science behind the big cubes. So that's why I like the big cubes. Also, same with big balls. Same with big balls. Same with big cubes. I'm just gonna go with a single shot of my rye, and I'm gonna do that twice. I haven't had anything to drink like all week. I'm gonna go with a double shot of rye, and I'm going to top my beverage off with some ginger ale. I'm going to top it off with a little ginger ale. I'm using fancy ginger ale tonight. The Fever Tree ginger ale. It's a little bit more expensive than a little bit more expensive than Canada Dry, but it's the same stuff basically. It's the same stuff. They probably may use filtered water, purified water, whatever. I don't care. I'm only using it because it's what I have here in my office. I do have a co-host here with me today. Come here, bud. Come here. Come say hi to everybody. Can you come here? Come here. Come here. Come be a big baby. Come here. Come here, big baby. Oh, you big baby. Come here. Oh, here's my big baby. Here's my big baby. Oh, he loves it when I pick him up, doesn't he? Oh, yeah. You're wet. Why are your paws wet? Anyway, that's Wally, the distillery dog. He's joining me in my office tonight. We have two visitors visiting us tonight. They are Frankie and Flynn, a couple of cats. So he's like weird. He's being totally weird right now. You see his tail? Anyway, so yeah, my dog's hanging out with me in the office today. Ginger ale and rye. Good mix. Good combo. So that is my cocktail for tonight. Usually I have a little lemon to shoot in there with it. Lemon brings the whole thing together. Nice little citrusy combo to bring it all together. But tonight, I figured what we would do in lieu of a specific deep dive topic, because that's usually what I do in the first like half of the show. I'll do a deep dive topic. You know, we'll go into one specific thing. We'll take like cocktails, and we'll talk about the history of cocktails and the difference between cocktails and mixed drinks. This is what we did last week. The difference between cocktails and mixed drinks, and how cocktails exploded onto the scene and became popular. Railroads helped cocktails become popular. How they became popular on the scene, how the backlash from cocktails led to the development of mixed drinks, and then the backlash against mixed drinks led to the rediscovery of classic cocktails like the sling and the bittered sling and the old fashioned and things like that. It was all part of the show last week. Go look at it. It's hilarious. But I've had a series of really frustrating week this week. Starting last Wednesday, I want to say. That's why we didn't have a trivia show on Thursday night. Starting Wednesday. Oh, hey, is that sunflowers in the house? Cheers, sunflowers. Starting Wednesday. It's just a series of just frustrating, unfortunate events. And it's just, it's the sort of thing that you deal with when you're a grown-up, right? People get older, people have to make decisions, people have to do stuff. But instead of having one specific show about one specific thing, I've just got some shit I want to get off my chest, right? I just got some stuff. I just want to I just want to vent. Tonight is my y'all are going to get to sit in on my y'all have got to listen to me bitch about margaritas, blue ink, blue food, red cake, the use of odd colored pins, pizza math, pizza physics. You've had the pleasure of me going off, I guess, on several things, and they organically pop up as a comment here. They're like, "Oh, well, what do you think about having a chili cheesecake margarita. Like, a chili cheesecake. What the fuck is wrong with you? Be chili cheesecake margarita. Why? Why fuck with a good thing? Chili cheesecake margarita. What even is a chili cheesecake margarita? And you know another thing, chili with beans is perfectly fine. I'll add that to my list. We'll get this. Yeah, no. You know what? No, fuck it. We're gonna get into it right now. Chili in your beans is perfectly fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with chili and beans. Chili has everything you want. It has flavor, and it has meat, and it has proteins, and it has starch. It sticks to your ribs. It's a good meal. It's got that just enough spice to it. Most of you people out there, you have special chili, just like your fucking margarita recipes. You have this special chili recipe, and I swear to God, you've gone and taken something that works just fine, and you have screwed it up. Like literally, most of you people out there who make chili could simply take your chili, throw it in the trash, grab a can of Hormel, dump it in a pot, and cook that up, and you have better chili. And here's the thing, Hormel doesn't even make particularly good chili. Wolf chili is way better, like empirically better by every metric. Wolf chili is better than Hormel chili. And wolf chili with beans is the best version of wolf chili. Not wolf turkey chili or any other shit. That's all garbage. You don't need to be putting turkey in your chili. You don't need to be putting rabbit meat in your chicken, rabbit, venison. No. Beef. Just beef. It's fine. I mean, if you're on the trail or whatever, you're out there and you're in the wilderness, you're out on the trail, you're out there doing whatever you're doing, sure, put whatever, you can grab some possum, grab some rat meat, grab squirrel, grab whatever the hell it is you can get your hands on, throw it in the meat, you're fine. Throw that in the chili, you're fine, that's fine, whatever. You're making your stew, you're making your chili, whatever, it's fine. But if you're at home, being civilized, for God's sakes, why? Your grandma made really good chili. Why are you fucking with her recipe? Why are you messing with grandma's recipe? Why are you messing with great grandma's recipe? Why do you think here in 2022, almost 2023, you're going to be going out there looking at great grandma's chili from the mid 1800s, and you're going to look at that chili and you go, you know what? I know great grandma used ground beef and peppers and beans, but beans don't belong in chili, and I'm going to use venison. Great grandma knew what she was doing. Gam, Nana, Nona, Nina, Noni, they knew what they were doing. Just stop with the. I get the whole experimentation and playing around with stuff and learning like new ways that foods come together and something. Leave that shit for the French chefs. They know what they're doing. Nobody eats their food anyway. It's fine. If we come over to your house and you're gonna feed us, just feed us food. Good God. Oh, I've got a special thing for you. I got a special thing for you. This is special chili. Nobody ever eats this chili. You know why nobody ever eats this chili? It tastes like shit. You fucked it up. Just get a big old can. I swear to God. I can go to a chili competition with a big ass can of Wolf Brand chili with beans, and I will win that competition because they make good chili. They make better chili than half these other ding dongs. You're not fooling anybody, Gen X. You're not fooling anybody. Anyway. You know what? I'm going to turn on comments. I got sunflowers over here chatting with me in comments. Resembles a stew and not a chili. An authentic Texas chili or a chili con carne will not have beans. Simple answer. When this recipe dish originated, there were no beans, no onions, no tomatoes. There was a concern that it would resemble a stew and not a chili. See, I don't care. Authentic Texas chili. An authentic Texas chili con carne, that's chili and meat. Chili generic takes beans. Chili con carne was chili with meat added. You added meat because they didn't have beans. That's why they added the meat. They didn't have beans, they added the meat. You know what? If you got both, add both. But here's the thing. When authentic original chili, when they were on their trail rides eating chili and stuff like that, they didn't have a whole lot of food. They didn't have a whole lot of it. And they had to make the shit, and they had to get and beans took a long time to soften, soften, and get ready to go. That's why they didn't have that's why they didn't do the beans and the chili. You have beans for one meal, you have chili for other meals. And, chili con carne and some, it was, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with beans and chili. People who insist their chili shouldn't have beans are the same kind of people who insist that Santa Claus's belt has to be a certain width. And it's like, fuck off. He's an imaginary creature. Shut up. Spoiler alert. Anyway, anyway, where were we? Okay, so you got a question about red cake. Red cake. Okay, so there's. Add my list here. So we've done chili with beans. That was unexpected. I wasn't expecting chili with beans. I'm gonna add that to my list with beans. Now we got red cake. Okay, I'll tell you what's wrong with red cake. It is unnatural. It is unnatural and it is inappropriate. You got a perfectly good looking chocolate cake, right? It's chocolate and it's got the chocolate icing and it's got the ribbony things on it and it's got whatever else you put on it, like some chocolate chips and maybe some like white chocolate flecks. You don't want to have a whole lot of white chocolate in your chocolate cake. I'm just talking about, for accent, for color, maybe some white piping on there to kind of give a little, but you don't even need that, just for decoration or whatever. And then you cut this thing open. You cut open this perfectly delicious, delectable, amazing chocolate cake. And what do you have in there? You have a fucking crime scene. That's what you have inside there. It's some red velvet garbage that tastes like red food coloring and looks like I don't want to say it. God, I didn't realize how hard it would be to say this. You cut open a cake and it looks like a goddamn abortion in there. Yeah, no, 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 no. There's nothing wrong with a perfectly good chocolate cake. Maybe a vanilla cake with chocolate icing, but you want to go and make it red? Red doesn't even have a flavor except for red food coloring. That is gross. What are you doing to people? Inappropriate. Ugh. Inappropriate. Absolutely no reason to have your chocolate cake be red or blue for that matter, or orange or any other color in there. Make the cake cake colored. Cake colored cake. That's what it ought to be. What are you doing messing with? No. I don't want red velvet. Wave that crap under my nose. I'll slap it back out of your hand. Nah. Blah. Don't make me. Anyway, that's red velvet cake. Red velvet cake's the worst. See, the red velvet, red cake, red foods, red dyed foods go in the same category with me as blue foods. It's not natural. It's not normal. Unless it's an actual fruit. If it's a strawberry or cherry or something like that, that's fine. But I'm not really gonna line up for your cherry cake either. I don't want cherry pie. I'm down with cherry pie, but cherry cake, no. Cherry cake is an abomination unto mankind. It says so in Leviticus. Thou shalt not make cakes like fruits, for that is an abomination, and you shall be stoned to death. And I don't know how much weed it takes to be stoned to death, but that sounds like a terrible way to go. Just saying. How do I eat my chili? Sunflowers, I like my chili with rice. I like my chili with beans. And I eat my chili with a spoon in my mouth. That's it. I will put my chili over rice, and I will usually eat it right out of the pot because I am a savage, and I have no interest in cleaning bowls when I'm making chili. But I said earlier, I said, and I know people have their proprietary chili recipes, and I kind of exaggerate. There's a lot of homemade chili recipes that are really good. There's a whole lot of homemade chili recipes that are really bad too, and it tastes like stew. It's like tomato stew with meat floating in it, and it's like, why? Where's the substance to it? It's not supposed to be a soup. It's chili, for God's sakes. So CSAC. I mentioned CSAC in the intro. CSAC is a music licensing company. Like BMI, like Interscope, like one of these record companies. ASPAC, CSAC, ASCAP, CSAC, and BMI. I think are the three big ones. And CSAC is like a distant third behind those first two. So they still piss me off. They still chap my ass when I think about CSAC. They're basically a music extortionist group. So what they do is they find bars and restaurants and they call them up and they go, "So we heard you have live music. It'd be really unfortunate if somebody were to request a cover and they'd play their cover and they would have to, get a license for that music that they played. If you're doing any karaoke, if you're having the radio in the background, if you're playing any music at all, you got to make sure that music's licensed. And if your you got a nice bar there, it'd be a shame if something happened to it." All right. So these fucking extortionists, they don't even know what you're doing. They don't even know what you're playing. They don't know what you're doing on a night-to-night basis. They don't know what you're doing. They don't know what kind of crowds you have. They don't know what you're selling. They don't know nothing. They're just calling you up randomly out of the blue, like, "We heard you had music. We didn't stay to listen to the music, but clearly you're doing covers, because why would you have live music if you weren't doing covers? And what if somebody requests Freebird, or somebody requests some Eric Clapton, or maybe somebody requests one of the songs that we have licensed? And then what would happen with your song? Then you would have to pay a license." Without even knowing what you're doing. And what they do is they send out these fucking secret shoppers. The secret shoppers that show up, they'll pop in, they'll show up while the band is setting up, and then they'll order a drink, they'll buy a drink, you show them a tour, and then they'll leave. And they won't even stay for the show. They don't even stay for the show, so they don't even know what was in the show. They don't have any fucking idea what was going on. All they're like is, "Well, you had live music, clearly." And they call you up, and they send you an email, and they call you up again, and they call you up again, and you finally answer the phone, and you tell them, "What do you want? What do you people want? Did you see my email?" "Yeah, I saw your email. It didn't apply to me, so I deleted it and ignored it." "Well, you got blah, blah." "No, no, 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 no. Shut up and listen with your ear holes, you dumb idiot morons. We're not playing your shitty licensed music. And if you would show me what music you have licensed, I will confirm on the set list when anybody shows up that we're not playing your shitty music. Because you people are vampires. You're the absolute worst kind of human beings. You sit there and fly overhead with your little buzzard eyes looking down to the ground, looking for bars that you can extort money out of, when you don't even know if they're paying, you don't even know if they're playing music that's licensed to you. We could go an entire year and not pay your damn license and not play any fucking music that's licensed to you, because you won't give us a list of music that's yours. CSAC, you can suck it. We will not ever pay your extortionist fees. I would rather pay bands to come in and play live, original music that they own, that's not owned by you, the shitty licensing company, than ever pay your extortionist fee. Ever. I would rather have singer-songwriters come in and play stuff that nobody's ever heard of. Absolutely nobody's ever heard of. I would much rather those people come in, play their music, get their music out, get their music heard, have them sell a couple of CDs off of my stage, than ever pay a licensing fee to CSAC on the off chance that maybe sometime, possibly somewhere, maybe somebody might request some song that you have a license to, and when you won't even tell us what songs you have licensed. You can suck a whole bag of dicks. Worst kind of people. The worst human beings, sitting up there in their little buzzard's roost in LA or New York. The office I talked to was in LA. Sitting up there in your little buzzard's roost, looking down on the plane, seeing if you can see something that might be injured or scared enough for you to swoop down on. You can suck it. Absolutely suck it. Worst damn people. They can suck it. They can absolutely suck it. And the thing is, I don't think it'd be that hard for them to send me a list of music that they have copyrighted. But you know what? They can't. Or they won't. Mark them off the list. Chili off the list. Red cake off the list. I got some shit to get off my chest. Some shit to get off my chest. People who go into stores and stop in the doorway. You've just come across the whole damn parking lot. You've grabbed a cart or whatever. You finished looking at your phone. You put it in your pocket. You walk in the door of the store, the restaurant, the office building, whatever it is you're walking into. Doors open up. Shh. You walk in. You get immediately past the door so that it won't close on your ass, and then you stop. What the fuck? You know why you're in Walmart. Why'd you stop? There's nothing for you in the entrance of Walmart. There's nothing for you there. Why'd you stop? Why'd you stop? You just want everybody to walk around you all of a sudden? You weren't walking slow enough to begin with? You wanted to stop, see if you can make time go backwards? Why? What is wrong? If you're one of those people, lost a subscriber. If you're one of those people that just stops when you walk through a doorway, I don't wish good things for you. I don't. I mean, existentially, I hope you have a good life and everything. But, I hope you, stub your toe. I hope you drop your coffee. Just one little annoying thing. That's all. I mean, I don't want you, somebody to rear end you or anything like that. I don't want you to have physical discomfort or, like problems with your life or anything. I want you to live a good life. I want you to be happy. I want you to live a good life. I want you to come to a place in your life where you've got things figured out enough that you don't just walk into a building and stop immediately. But when you do walk into a building and stop immediately, I hope your pickle falls on the floor. Maybe you get a little mustard on your shirt. Maybe you bite into your burger and your toppings fall out on the other side. Minor inconvenience, tit for tat, karma type of thing. A yin and yang, a balance in the world, a balance in the universe. That's all. I don't want you to get gangrene and lose your foot. That'd be over the top. For just stopping in the doorway of a store, that's over the top. You shouldn't have to lose your foot. No. But you're trimming your nails and you cut a little bit tight and that it stings for a little bit, like an hour or so, and then it goes away. Yeah, that's fair. I think that's a fair balance, a fair compromise, because there's absolutely no reason for you to stop. You're not talking to the greeter. You just stopped. You just walked in. Everybody's progressing into the store. Everybody's progressing into the building nice and normal. And you decide to stop so that everybody behind you has to react. And then as we're reacting around, you get going again. So now it's just chaos. All because you forgot why you were going into Walmart. You forgot why you were going to the office. I mean, the office buildings you kind of understand because you walk into the big giant tower and you're like, oh, what am I supposed to be doing here? Where am I going? Where are the elevators? Where's somebody to help me? Oh my God, where's my guide? I'm being facetious. There's absolutely no reason to stop in the door. You walk in that door, you keep going. You keep going. It's not that complicated. You know why you're there? You prepare for it. You're walking up to the door, you prepare for it. You're okay, I'm going into the building. I know where I need to be. And now, you may be like when I walked into Union Station for the first time here in Houston after they built Minute Maid Park in Ron Field at the time. And you walk in, you look around, you're like, wow, it's gorgeous. And it just echoes all around you and everybody hears you say it because it was gorgeous. It was. Astros won that game, by the way. They also won last night. Walk-off home run, Jordan Alvarez. Chef's kiss. It was beautiful. Going to Seattle for a game tomorrow. Game's at 2:37 p.m. in the afternoon. I'll be watching it. Astros are going to just beat the Mariners like a rented fucking mule. Be a fun game. Anyway, those people, they piss me off. Did I see Bacon's in the house? Goddamn Bacon's in the house. All right, people who stop in doorways. And I'll mark that off my list. See, I've got a rant list I'm working on. Yeah, I absolutely woke up this morning and chose violence. Absolutely, without questions, Bacon. Today was the day. Inconvenient curse for people. A polite but inconvenient curse. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And yes, sunflowers, that did happen at the distillery. The CSAC shit did happen at the distillery. They harassed me nonstop from March forward to about July until I finally told him, look, there's Wally. Hey, buddy. He's ready to go out. He's ready to leave. You want to go? You ready to go? You ready to go? Yeah, he's ready to go. Hey, let me call my lovely assistant. I don't know if she's in bed yet. No, I'm not personally going up to Seattle. The Houston Astros are going up to Seattle. They're on the road tomorrow for a playoff game. There's this thing called Major League Baseball. It is a professional sports ball league where teams that number of 25 players, number in a total of 25 players on each team, compete in the game of baseball at a diamond, a baseball diamond, a baseball park, if you will, where a diamond is etched into the ground, and they have lines, fair ball lines, where inside is the fair field of play and outside is the foul area. If the ball is hit in the foul area, it is not counted as a legitimate hit, and they must reset and try again. 9 members of each team take the field on any given day. One is a hurler who pitches the ball towards a player who's known as a catcher, who catches the ball when the pitcher pitches it. And on the other team, the offensive players attempt to swing a piece of wood, historically ash, sometimes modern days is maple. But they attempt to swing a stick approximately 32, maybe 33 inches long, weighs in the neighborhood of 32 or 30 to 32 ounces. They swing this stick at the ball. The ball that is hurled is about yay big. They hurl it from roughly 60 feet away, 60 feet and 1/2 inches, if I'm not mistaken, from a mound of dirt. They stand upon this mound of dirt and hurl the ball from the pitcher's hand to the catcher's mitt. It's a mitt, not a glove. The other players in the field, they have gloves. The catcher himself, he has a mitt. And as the batter attempts to bat at the ball with the wood stick, the bat, if you will, he attempts to bat at the ball and put the ball into the field of play. It's a great way of recreation, a great form of recreation, a great way, form of sport, a fantastic methodology of exercise and keeping your wits about you and relieving stress of the day. Games can go on for hours at a time. They separate the time of play into innings, where each team of players has 3 attempts to. They get as many attempts at batting a ball as they can, but they're only allowed to fail at batting a ball 3 times in what's known as an inning. First off, the visiting team gets a chance to bat at balls that are thrown by the home team, and then they switch places, and then the home team gets a chance to bat at balls that are thrown by the visiting team. And the ultimate goal is to hit the ball inside these lines of fair play. And if they hit the ball far enough, then they're allowed to run around all 4 bases and score what is known as a run. And when they hit the 4th base, known as home plate, the plate at which they stand, then they are awarded a run. Hey, babe. So that is the sport and recreation known as baseball, popularized in the early 1800s by Abner Doubleday. And we here in Houston have a squad known as the Houston Astros. And up there in Seattle, they have a squad known as the Seattle Mariners. And the Mariners squad is playing the Houston squad. Thank you. He wants out. I love you. You look beautiful. I don't think I've seen that lingerie yet. That is, wow, shocking.
What?
The green lacy. Damn. It looks like it's
the green lacy
looks like it's painted on you. Damn, girl. Is that a whew? Is that a fun? I think we need to close the show. Yeah, and I've got the microphone on, so if I go over there and do whatever I'm gonna want to do, they're gonna hear every bit of it.
I gotta go check on our yowling cats upstairs.
I mean, I don't know. Y'all can't see this because she's over here off camera and in the dark.
So if I come on camera right now, they're gonna see you're lying.
But
right?
Mrs. Old Humble is wearing some lacy thong-backed sexiness.
Yeah, they just saw my shirt.
And just ignore. This is some random person showing off on the screen here.
How about this?
There, see, she's not even wearing pants.
No, I'm not.
That's why she's not coming on the screen.
Pants? I'm wearing little undies.
Oh, Jesus.
All right.
I love you. Bye.
Let me go check on the cats.
Love you. Bye.
Tell them about your yowling cat.
Yeah, I'll get there. I'm going through a whole list of rants tonight because I got shit I want to get off my chest. Right now, I'm explaining this newfangled sport recreation event to newfangled sport recreation known as baseball. Of which we have a squad here in Houston that is actually fairly good at it, which is kind of cool.
What about the new surf place that's going to get built?
I don't give a shit about that.
Love you.
Anyway, so yeah, that's baseball. But no, for real. I'm a huge baseball fan. I've been a baseball fan ever since forever. And I absolutely, I mean, there was a time period here in Houston where the Astros were just dreadful bad. They lost 500 games in 4 years. 3 consecutive 100 loss seasons. It was bad. And not only were they dreadfully bad in those 4 years, 5 years, like the TV rights were in dispute. We were getting a new owner. The TV rights were in dispute. Like we didn't have a channel you could even watch the Astros on. So it was just this, it was really bad. For a baseball fan here in Houston, it was really bad. It was, I mean, it was like Oakland bad, where there were just a few thousand fans in the stadium. It was, and if you didn't go to the games, you didn't see the games because the games weren't on TV. They were on this channel that none of the local cable companies carried. It was really bad. And then in 2015, they had a winning season. Unexpectedly, they had a winning season, and I think they got the wild card that year. It was like just winning enough to get the wild card, and they got in the wild card, they were out. And we were like, oh my God. Then 2016, they were not good enough to be in the playoffs. And then 2017, they win the World fucking Series. And it's been just lightning bolts since then. 2017, playoffs 2018, playoffs 2019, playoffs 2020, World Series 2019, playoffs 2020, World Series 21. And now we're back. And we have a team this year that is quite likely better than the team we had last year that lost in the World Series, but quite likely better than the team we had back in 2019 that was like 6 outs away from winning the World Series. They're good. They're really good. And this first game This first game, it was so bad in the first couple innings. Verlander, our ace, Justin Verlander, husband of Kate Upton, and they've got kids, so you know what that means. He's hit that shit. That was vulgar. I'm sorry. They're both lovely people, but Verlander sucked. Verlander was bad. He wasn't in his spots. His velocity was off. He got lit up for 4 runs, and I think the first inning, and I think he gave up 2 more runs in the 6th inning. No, in the 3rd inning, he gave up 2 more runs, and then they bring in a reliever in the 4th inning, and the reliever gives up one of his runs, so he gets 7 runs credited to him. Dude has an ERA, earned run average, of 1.4. He's given up, on average, per 9 innings, 1.4 runs. Dude gave up 7 runs in 4 innings yesterday. To their credit, the Astros come back. They score a couple in the first, a couple in like the third. Going into the end of the game, they're down by 2. Alex Bregman hits a home run to bring up within 7-5. I think in the 8th inning he hits a home run, or maybe it was the 7th or 8th inning he hits a home run, brings it to 7-5. And then going into the 9th inning, base hit, walk, single, scores a run, 2 runners on, pop fly, strikeout. No, 1 runner on, pop fly, strikeout. Pena gets a base hit, puts 2 runners on, and then comes up Yordan Alvarez. 2 outs, bottom of the 9th, 2 runners on, first game of the playoffs, and son of a bitch hits a home run that is an absolute moonshot into the upper decks in right field. I mean, the crowd was getting really restless and like, this is it. This is the game over, 2 outs. Bottom of the 9th, this is it, kind of game's over. They did a good job. It was an exciting game. It was a fun time. Yay, we love our Astros. And then the pitch comes in, clack! And everyone's like, wow. And then the crowd goes absolutely fucking bananas. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Baseball is life. Baseball es la vida. Chef's kiss. Amazing. I love baseball. Fucking love it. Number of stitches on a baseball is the same number of steps on the Notre Dame Cathedral. There's a language to it, a flow to it, a spirituality to it. There's customs, there's standards, there's data, there's statistics, there's unwritten rules that are actually written down in many places. There's respect for the history and new ways of doing things going in the future to keep it fresh and new. But even today, 150 years after the first baseball game was played, if you brought Abner Doubleday forward to today, you'd look around at the stadiums and you'd go, wow. But he'd still be able to follow the game. Still be able to follow the game. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. The same game my dad played and my dad watched is the same game we watch today. The same game that his dad played and his dad watched. The same game that his dad played and his dad watched. It's played at a different pace. It's played at a different scale. But you throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball. There's a beauty to it. There's an absolute beauty to it. And it's not easy to hit a baseball. I mean, you're talking about a little spheroid coming at you at, the professionals, they throw at 96, 97, 102, 107 miles an hour. Kids throw at 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. You move into high school at maybe 80 or 90. College, you're talking 80, 90. But change of speeds. You watch that curveball come in. There's a beauty to it. There's an absolute beauty to it. And I love it. I hope one of the last things I see in life is a baseball game. Because there's a beauty to it. There's a geometry and a pace and a quality to the game. You don't have to sit there and watch every second of a baseball game. Because a lot of baseball games are really boring until they're not. Because when they're not boring, they're exciting and they're magical. And every stranger around you, the other 45,000 people sitting in the stands with you, they're all experiencing the same thing, and it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And there's very few places where you can orchestrate that kind of crowd unity. There's very few places where you can do that. Football games, sports, athletic events, you can orchestrate that kind of thing. There's a flow to the games. Soccer, football, baseball, hockey. But baseball, there's something about it. There's just something about the pomp, the circumstance, the majesty, the spareness of the game, just the paucity of what's happening out there. You know, you can go out there with a stick and a wadded up ball of newspaper with tape around it, and you can play baseball in the field, in the street. Yeah, you can do the same thing with football. You can grab a shoe, and it can be your football or whatever. But every kid, at least every kid that I knew, every kid I grew up with, there was always that moment where you'd stand there and you'd imagine in your head, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, bases loaded, down by 3. He steps up to the plate. The pitch, and the world stops. Time slows down. The ball, watching it spin, comes in. Everything gets quiet. Lights are flashing. And just for that 1 second, that one moment, that one fleeting, brief flash of time, you're Roy Hobbs. You're Mark McGwire. You're Babe Ruth. You're Sammy Sosa. You're that guy standing there at the plate, the world watching you. Something magical about that. Something magical about that. Where it's just you and the ball. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. You're not throwing a ball to a wide receiver. You're not a wide receiver counting on the quarterback to not fuck it up. You're not the cornerback, like you got the beat on him. You're going to just drill the teeth through the back of his throat. No, it's not the same. It's you, the bat, and the ball. And you watch it come in, and you see it turning, and you're swinging the bat. Tack! One fleeting moment. You're the hero. You're the hero. You're the hero. You get carried off the field. Something magical about that. Something magical about that. And it's something magical about that you don't find in other sports. At least I don't find it in other sports. I mean, other people may find it. I mean, there may be somewhere on some dusty field in some third world country, some kid who imagines that he's Ronaldo, kicking the final shot for the win in the World Cup or whatever. Baseball es vida. I'll mark that off my list. Baseball es vida. Todo vida. Baseball is todo. Baseball is vida. Todo la vida. Anyway. Beer run. Oh goodness. All right, let me I'm going to switch over to my chat screen. Switch over to chat real quick. Chat window's not live because I did not do it live. Let's see if I can fix that. Chat window. Is it this one? That's the one. There it is. Hello, chat window. Let's put you where you belong. Let's scroll up through chat comments. I see Mike in the house. Cheers, Mike. I also see that Sunflowers is going to bed. Good night, Sunflowers. Love you. Have a great night. I want to see Seattle. I do too, Sunflowers. I want to go to Seattle. I want to go up the northwest and make my way south. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a great road trip. Move stuff into storage today. We've been cleaning. Actually, funny you should mention that. We've been cleaning out someone's house, someone's apartment, and that's tangential to one of my rants. Healthcare system. Oh, not there yet. I'll get there. I'm not sure if I'm in a headspace where I want to talk about it. That's my no good shitty week. Starting on Wednesday. Yeah. Let's see here. Red shirts are all right. And bacon's a commie. Speaking of commies, I am sick and damn tired of people calling communists fascists. Like, context here. On TikTok, TikTok's a cesspool. Almost as much of a cesspool as Facebook. I almost have 1,000 followers on the TikTok. Mostly because I cause trouble. But anyway, there was this question. Are you one of the 75 million Americans that Joe Biden insulted or got offended because he called them fascists or something to that effect? That was one of the questions. And, I, being the snarky son of a bitch I am, like, look, if you got offended because, say, you got called a fascist, maybe you should quit being a fascist. Like, that's all. Like, maybe you should quit being a fascist. Then you won't be offended by being a fascist. You quit supporting fascists, quit supporting fascist policy. I mean, you don't have to. It's a choice, right? And then, of course, there were the regular goobers. Oh, well, actually, it's the Democrats who are fascist. Well, see, here's the thing. They've spent, I don't know, 36 months or so calling Democrats communists. So Democrats can't be communists and fascists at the same time. Those are diametrically opposed worldviews. Like diametrically opposed worldviews. Like communism is state control, collective ownership of the means of production. That's what communism is. It's an economic system. Communism is an economic system. There's also a political aspect to it because you have to have some kind of authoritarian regime or collectivist regime in order to maintain the economic operations of a communist economy. But communism, fascism, diametrically, but that's an economic regime, right? Communism, collectivist control of the means of production. Fascism is the polar opposite, where you have corporate control of the government. Where you have a hollowed out bureaucracy, and the regulatory agencies are actually corporate agencies, and governmental ministers are actually corporate executives, and they own as much of the corporations own the government versus the government owning the corporation. Like these are they can both be authoritarian regimes, and very often aspects of authoritarian regimes require these because they're not like a natural order. Well, we say it's not natural order. There's natural order in some places, but I mean that you can't be communist and fascist at the same time. Like if you're going to spend all the energy saying that socialists and communists and blah 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 blah, you can't turn around and say, oh well, all the commies are actually socialists. You can't do that. You just can't. Like there's a whole there's like a whole flow chart and timelines where it goes from one style of government to it devolves like the evolution of governments over time. It goes from point A to point B to point C to point, and then it's like if then, and it splits here, and then if then, and they split, and you go down a path towards communism or you go down a path towards fascism. They don't cross back over. You can't go down a path towards fascism and then cross over to communism unless there's a cataclysmic event that severs the evolutionary progression, and it like collapses the entire operation, like a banking collapse, or like the Great Depression almost did here in the United States. The Great Depression almost collapsed the entire government and operations of the entire economy to the point where corporations almost there was a push in the 1930s for collectivization and government control, government takeover of actual full-on industries. Steel industry, steel industry, coal industry, um, and there was another one, petrochemical, oil industry. So energy, steel, manufacturing, and which I mean, basically it was the primary input for manufacturing, so it would have been the whole supply chain. And the other one, coal, which was basically fuel for the steel industry. There's a big push for government to take over all that shit. But, you know, nip that shit in the bud. That didn't happen, obviously. But it's the the aspect of knowing, and this is another rant that I can mark off my list. It's the aspect of knowing where you where or what where you are leads to knowing how to defend against the worst case scenario. Like where we are doesn't lead to communism. In fact, I talked about this weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks ago. Where we are doesn't lead to communism. We don't need to worry about like a communist regime taking over. Where we are doesn't lead to communism. Where we are might lead to socialism, or where we are might lead to fascism. But where we are does not lead to communism. That's a whole nother. That's a whole nother timeline that we're not on. But the lack of knowledge of how these things develop is frustrating, because it's like when you get in a conversation with somebody, you've got to start back at the baseline and like re-educate. Like they're like, oh, what do you mean? Blah, 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 blah. Like no, unions don't lead to communism. Unions aren't looking to collectivize. They just want a piece of the pie. They're a capitalist. They're a capitalist creation, a socialist capitalist creation. But you can't have socialism without capitalism. You can have communism without capitalism. But you have to not. But if you have capitalism, you don't get communism. You see? See how that works? Like capitalism is your inoculation against communism. You have to. Capitalism has to collapse in order to get capitalism can breed socialism. Socialism exists within capitalist societies. It has to. You can't have socialism without capitalism. And if you understand Marx's philosophy, the idea was you go from capitalism to socialism, and then once socialism supplants the capitalism, then you move into the next thing. But socialism doesn't supplant capitalism because capitalism has an inherent reason to exist. But fascism can. Fascism and socialism fight against each other in the realm of capitalism. And that's a thing. You got to know how these things devolve. If shit breaks down, you like if the capitalist structure breaks down, you can either go full communist, which means a complete and total breakdown of capitalism. Complete breakdown of capitalism. Complete and total. Like currency doesn't work, everything seizes up, government gets completely decapitated, corporations are not functioning, everybody's unemployed, and you're done. Like 40% unemployment. And we had 25 or 30% during the Great Depression. So it was like everything was seizing up. Like money was failing to operate. Or all the capitalism continues to work and regulation breaks down. And if regulation breaks down, see, capitalism without regulation leads to the big F. See, and people don't understand that people either don't or they refuse, and then that's a simplistic explanation. There's master's and doctorate theses explaining this in far greater detail than some dumb idiot who makes whiskey. Don't worry. I mean, there's more to it, obviously. But you got to know how it devolves in order to be able to. And people who are like, oh, these fucking communists are the real fascists. Communists aren't fascists. Communists hate fascists. Fascists hate communists. There's a reason for it. And if you know the difference between the two, you know why they hate each other. Ugh. Fucking idiots. Anyway, where are we? What time is it? It's 11 o'clock. I've really been doing this for 2 hours? No, I've only been doing this for 1 hour. Anyway, it was Oakland bad. Yeah, I mean, this year Oakland had like 700 people, 7,000 people in the stands. It was Oakland bad. Oakland was really bad this year. And that's how bad the Astros were. Oakland is an interesting franchise. Oakland has had more 100-win seasons and more 100-loss seasons than any other team in Major League Baseball. They're either really good or really bad, and they're very rarely in between. And just so you know, 162 games in a season. Used to be 151, I think. But that was back in like the 70s, I think. But 162 game season, to win 100 games means you're winning. You only lose 62 times. Out of every 16 games you play, you only lose 6. 6 out of 16. You know, that's 3 out of every 10 games. 4 out of every 10 games? You only lose 3 out of every 10 games. It's hard to do. It's hard. It's really hard to do. 100-win seasons are special. 100-win seasons are all. I make the argument that 100-loss season is harder to do than a 100-win season because teams are trying to win. You know, all the teams are trying to beat you, but you're trying to win. You're trying not to lose 100 games, right? You're desperately trying to not lose 100 games. So, like 100-loss seasons are hard to do. Just like losing Fortnite and being the first kill, number 100 on the map. That's hard to do. It's hard to be the first person that gets killed in Fortnite. But it's not impossible. It happens. You have to make effort to do it. It's really hard to do it by accident. I've done it by accident once, but it's really hard to do by accident. Is my mic gone quiet? Okay, I'm still good. But for Oakland to be able to do 100-win and 100-loss seasons like nothing, man, that's fucking impressive sometimes. But the fact, I think this is the first 100-win season the Astros have had since their last 100-loss season, and that was 2014, I think maybe it might have been 2013 was their last 100-loss season. I have to double check that. I'm not sure. That's actually a good thing to Astros season records. Let's see what that is. History and Encyclopedia season results. Here we go. Houston Astros season results. Let's take a look at this because I am curious. This out of the way. The Houston Astros season results. We've got regular season results going back. Oh no, I'm full of shit. 2017, 100 wins, 101. Okay, so going all the way back to 2013, 2011, 12, and 13. 106 losses, 107 losses, 111 losses. 2014, 92 losses. So that's the 400 losses in 4 seasons. I think I said 504 seasons. 400 losses in 4 seasons. 3 consecutive 100-loss seasons. And then the next year, 2015, they got a wild card with 86 wins. Not only did they manage to not have a losing season, they managed to get the wild card. And everybody was surprised. Like, they weren't supposed to do that. And then 2016, they get 84 wins and just miss out on the wild card. And then from 2013 to 2017, they lost 111 games, and then they won 101 games. They went 101 and 61, then 103 and 59, then 107 and 55, and this year they had 106 wins. 106 wins. And they might be better. This might be the best team they've ever had. They're good. It's a special year. It's fun to watch. I'm excited. I don't know how it's going to end. They may shit the bed on the next 2 games and get bounced out of the division series. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Who knows? But losing a game like the Mariners lost last night, that can end a season. That can end a series before it even starts. But we'll see. Going on a beer run. Any ideas? I like Newcastle. Get some Newcastle. BEERR beer run. BEERRUN. The 10 and a 5 and a car and a key and a sober driver. BEERRUN. Yeah, that's fun. Cheers. Welcome to the party, Mike. Walking distance. That's good. That is good. Walking distance is good for beer runs. It's actually a beer run. You can make the run to get beer because it's in walking distance. Get it? Scrolling. Oh, I'm caught up on chat. This is weird. Good night, Mike McClune. And I'll see you when you get back home, I suppose. Oakland Athletics. The Oakland team name is the Athletics. My good man. The Oakland Athletics. Okay. So let's see here. I guess I can mark fascists off the list because I guess that counts as my rant against fascists. I guess the thing that bothers me most is that just people don't know what the fuck fascism is. I mean, we know what communism is. We have an idea of what communism is. We have an idea of it, that it's like, state control of corporations and businesses and stuff. I wonder if my lovely wife is out there still. Let me try this one more time. I'm not sure if she's out there. You there? Will you bring me a piece of ice? Will you bring me a piece of ice? This is awesome. She's like right over there in the. I don't know why she's waiting up. It's 11 o'clock. She should be in bed by now. But she's getting my ice. I love her so much. She is a goddamn saint. Goddamn saint.
Put down your shirt.
Thank you, my sweet. Thank you, baby.
Is that not big enough?
It's the smallest piece of ice in the entire freezer. Get
It's the only one my hand
smallest
can reach.
piece of ice in the entire freezer. It's perfect. I love you.
I'm short. I can't reach in very far.
I love you.
Give me a break. It's my bedtime. Good night.
Can you bring me another piece of ice, please? I didn't think you'd bring me the smallest damn piece of ice out of the machine. Oh, I love her so much. She is, ladies and gentlemen, the Old Humble lady, the Mrs. Old Humble guy, the Old Humble gal.
You're gonna love this. Would you like the ice that's left over for my drink?
No. No, I don't want the ice from your drink. She's trying to put her drink in my drink. I don't want the ice from your drink. What was it? Some kind of cream thing?
Apple whiskey? Apple pie whiskey?
Apple pie whiskey. I don't want your liqueur, please. I just like some regular old ice. So we got this apple pie moonshine liqueur from a distillery. I don't even know what distillery. Bring me the bottle. Bring me that bottle. I want to show it off. I am needy. Seriously, there. Just bring the tray. The tray that's on the rack. No, but seriously, I mean, like, we know what communism. We have a vague idea of what communism is. We don't really know what fascism is.
It has a really cool handle, so I can carry it.
Oh, this is the apple pie moonshine.
Here's another little piece of ice.
Thank you, baby. So this is from
Don't drink it because it's mine.
This is from Schitt's Creek Distillery. Some apple. You can look at you see the residue down here at the bottom, maybe. Yeah, look at the stuff down
Yummy.
here at the bottom. It's like cloves and stuff. Actually, you may not be able to see that down there. At the
Yeah,
bottom.
you can.
Can you? It's really good, and this is from a little distillery near Burnett, and it is really,
I like it.
really delightful.
I'm gonna drink my whiskey.
Don't look on her. You can't see because she doesn't want to come on camera on account of her sexy fucking lingerie. Um, she is a gorgeous. She's applying for a Victoria's Secret model.
They've
What
seen me. They
what
know
she's doing
better.
is she's in the other room filming for the OnlyFans.
Actually,
Good night, my love. She's filming the OnlyFans content for our channel. Um, available for a subscription of $4 a month, I think. You get all of the foot videos. The whiskey and feet is all it is. It's just whiskey and feet. That's it. Um, I'd like to take this moment right now to thank you, fine folks, for joining me for the show tonight. This has been kind of therapeutic, getting this shit off my chest. Because it's been a really shitty week. It's been a really, really shitty week. Last week, no, not yet. Not yet. Y'all gotta wait just 5 more minutes. Because I want to finish the thought on the communism and fascism thing. People don't know. People just don't, and it's not hard to look it up. You can go like, what is fascism? There's 14 very clear aspects to understand what it is and what it entails, and it's disturbing when you look at it and you think about it, and it's really easy to look at it in context. Like, our country is not becoming a fascist country any more than it has been in the past. We have distinct safeguards on it, and I get the benefit every year of being able to work with those safeguards. I work as a poll worker with the Harris County Election Commission, and we literally run the polls. We count the votes, or I'm sorry, we collect the votes. We don't count the votes. Other people count the votes. We collect the votes, and you get to see the inner workings of how this stuff works. And we have a great immune system in our country to inoculate ourselves against what would be a collapse of the democratic system, and teetering on the brink towards a fascistic, even if not fully fascist, a fascistic type of state. And one of the things that inoculates us from that is the fact that we get to cast a ballot in some cases, every 6 months. Some states like Texas, we have our March elections, which are generally ballot measures and state primary races. So there's primary races, ballot measures, and local elections in March. And then November is statewide elections and national elections. So our elections are kind of split between March and November. And in March, we have our primaries. This year, we had our primaries for the national election, which is coming next week, or next month. We had our state and local ballot measures, and then we've got some stuff coming up in March or in November. That's mostly the national and statewide elections. And this is the type of thing that inoculates our country from the collapse of the democratic system and democratic processes. And that's why it's so fucking important, because I've got a lot at stake. I mean, I've got a whole business, I've got my family, I've got my house, our way of life. Like, we don't understand collectively as a people what we have at risk if we don't protect the mechanisms that maintain our way of life. We think that, the Second Amendment is what protects our way of life, but the fact of the matter is, if you have to pick up a gun and go out there and fight to defend your way of life, you've already lost your way of life. You've already lost the way of doing things. Like, you get up every morning, you go, whatever, go to Starbucks and go to work. Or you get up and you go to McDonald's and you go to work, and then you have lunch, and then you come home. You go bowling or play Call of Duty or whatever it is at night or in the evening that you do to recreate, and then you have dinner with your family, and then you take your kids to soccer or karate or baseball or whatever it is that you do for your kids. You go to the Webelos meeting or the cello concert or whatever shit you do in the evenings. You do all this shit. if you have to pick up a gun to protect all of that, you've already lost all of that. Because if you're doing the one, you don't do both. The thing that protects us more than anything, our way of life, the way we do things, the way we exist, the way we operate in this country, is getting out and voting. And that's why I harp on this again and again and again. I say it again and again and again. I don't give a shit who you vote for. I really, truly, at the bottom of my heart, I don't give a shit who you vote for. Because I know that if every single person in your state, your county, your local municipality, if every single person goes out and votes, then the will of the people will be expressed. And if you have enough people, the more people who vote, the more ideas are put out into the public space. The more ideas that are put out in the public space, the more candidates you have that run. The more candidates you have that run, the more um, the more ideas get adopted by the governing, the victors in the elections, the governing individuals in the elections, and the less they have a chance to fuck around with the voting lines and who votes and how they vote, and it's much harder for them to pick their constituents when there's so many constituents voting. See how this works out? It's a marketplace of ideas. The more people that vote, the more people are willing to run. If you have like in Wisconsin, like something like 6,000 people voted for the Democrat in Wisconsin. It was only one person running in a primary. It wasn't any big deal. But if only 6,000 people vote in an entire state, I think Wyoming has 150,000 people in the state. But if only 6,000 people vote, that's discouraging to other candidates in that party. Like nobody else wants to run. Like there's nobody who votes for these people. Why would I run? Same thing here in the north end of Houston. You know, there's a district of 250,000 people, whatever, Dan Crenshaw's district. He runs in a primary. Nobody, he gets somebody, he's running against him, Robin Fulford. She's running against him. He'll get 60,000 votes probably out of 250,000 voters. She might get, I don't know if she beats him, she'll get 65, but if it's like if it's like your typical election on this side of town, he'll get 60,000 votes, she'll get 20. That's discouraging to the candidates in general. It's not discouraging to the incumbent. The incumbent doesn't give a shit if anybody votes. He's perfectly happy to have 6 people vote for him. He doesn't give a flying fuck. But for the opponent, for the opposition, for any other candidates, if anybody's looking at this race considering running, only 80,000 people out of 250, only 30% of the people even give a shit enough to vote? Only 80,000 people? And how do you get these people to get up and vote? If you get out and vote, you have 4 people running for every office. If every person in every district gets up and vote, you have 4 people running for every office. And if you have 4 people running and the top 2 people, get 35 and 45% of the vote, well, they're going to be hella motivated to try and convince the other 30% of the people to support them in the runoff. So you get better ideas, you get better policies, you get more broad-based policy outreach, you get better candidates. More people vote, more better candidates. More better candidates, more better representation. More better representation, more better governance. More better governance, more better country. And that's how you protect yourself. That's how you protect your country from a democratic collapse. And when you have a capitalist country and you have a strong capitalist economy and a democratic collapse, you fall into fascism. When you have a weak capitalist country, a collapse of the capitalist system, and you risk a collapse of the government, that's when you risk communism. But you don't go from capitalism to communism. That's not how it works. It's just you have to have a cataclysm to cause both governmental and economic collapse. And in a free market, that just doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. It's really hard for that to happen. So I guess I can mark that off my list. That's a good one. I can mark that off my list. That's booked. Book it. Book it. Mark it off the list there. I do have one item on my list here. Fucking Glenn. You know you are. Glenn. I'll get back to you. I don't have the energy yet. I gotta refill my mana bar. I'll get to you, Glenn. You got it coming to you, you son of a bitch. You know what you did. Get a little something for Glenn. He needs to hear this. I don't even know if he's watching. I don't really care. The piece of ice. It's for whiskey. It's for my drink. Jesus. So for real, I have considered doing an OnlyFans where it was just whiskey and feet, or do like videos of like feet, like puddles of whiskey, just splash, 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 or like little piece of lingerie coming off of the whiskey bottle, just like slowly, a little strappy thing, just like slowly pulling it down, slowly pulling it, and undressing the whiskey bottle. I've thought about it. I've given it serious consideration. Do I have a point about voting percentages by population when it comes to possible new candidates, whether you believe it matters or not? Oh yeah, yeah, and see, that's the thing. It's a marketplace. It's a marketplace. Just like if there's not a lot of buyers for a product, then there's not a lot of companies that are willing to offer the product. Follow what I'm saying? If there's a company that hits the market with a sorghum whiskey, let's say, and the sorghum whiskey hits the market, and then all of a sudden they sell like 100,000 cases in the first year, well, there's gonna be a lot of companies that look at that and go, "Holy shit, I want to sell sorghum whiskey." And there's going to be a lot of new entries into the market trying to capitalize on this thirst for a new idea. And I tell people that a blank ballot is better than no ballot. If you're going to take the time, if you give a shit, take the time, go vote, and vote a blank ballot. Because a blank ballot at least records that you voted. It shows that you voted. It shows that you showed up. It shows that you cared enough to cast a ballot. But it also shows that you're so disgusted with the candidates that were presented that you didn't want to vote for them. I would rather see people vote blank ballots than people vote no ballots. Because voting no ballots means you don't care. If you don't cast a ballot, it means you don't even care enough to get up off the couch. It's somebody else's problem. But here's the thing: it's not somebody else's problem. It's your problem. Because if the democratic processes collapse, and they can absolutely collapse due to disinterest, due to atrophy, due to lack of interest, if they collapse, then it's absolutely your problem. Because we got where we are today. We didn't get where we are today by people voting. We got where we are today by specific cohorts of the population staying home. 2010, young people disgusted at the infighting and sausage making from 2008 to 2010, the mealy-mouthed implementation and passage of the ACA, not understanding that 60 Democrats did not really mean 60 Democrats. It meant like three factions of Democrats between 40, 17, and 3, kind of different factions. They weren't all unified and united. A whole lot of infighting, a disunified caucus. Lack of voting, lost the House. I think it lost the Senate. Can't remember. But that hobbled the efforts to progress through the ACA, and that cost us a Supreme Court justice. That's how we get Neil Gorsuch instead of Merrick Garland. Fast forward. Lack of voting in 2016 got us the former president, and not what very likely would have been the worst president we had had it not been for that president. We basically had a choice between the two worst presidents we could possibly get. But not voting in the Senate, not voting for the president was one thing, but not voting in the Senate lost the Senate. Not voting in the House lost the House. Mm-hmm. Got Kavanaugh, Sam Kavanaugh. I don't remember what his first name is. Rick Kavanaugh, Jim Kavanaugh. I don't remember what his first name is. And it got us Amy Coney Barrett. Not sealing the deal with the Senate in 2018 got us Amy Coney Barrett. Not voting got us where we are today. Not voting lost us our right to privacy. Right to privacy, which allowed them to shoot down abortion rights. But the right to privacy also means who you have sex with behind closed doors, who you get married to, contraception, your voting record, your purchasing records, your library records, your phone records. There's a whole lot that goes into the right to privacy that is not explicit in the Constitution, but it's implied in the Constitution with several different items in there, not the least of which is securing your own documents, right to search without or no search without a warrant, right to self-incrimination, a whole lot of other stuff that doesn't explicitly say you have a right to privacy, but it's implied that you have a right to privacy, which protects your freedom. If you don't have privacy, you don't have freedom. Because if they can look, I mean, we put our public shit online all the time. We voluntarily put our public shit online all the time. And, you know, people are free to look at your public postings on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube and all the other stuff. They're free to look at your public postings. But without a right to privacy, they're also free to look at your private postings. Without a right to privacy, they're also free to look at your instant messages. Without a right to privacy, they're also free to go to the phone company and see who you've been texting. They're also free to see who you've been calling. They're free to do all this stuff. I mean, they can't look at your personal records that you have, but if you put it out there without the right to privacy, they're free to look at that stuff. If you put it on another company, if you take your shit and put it on the cloud, you take your shit and put it on Facebook, you take your shit and put it on YouTube or Instagram or Twitter, well, they're free to look at Twitter, whether it's behind a locked box or not. You don't have a right to privacy. Libraries can tell the feds to fuck off. I'm not going to show you we don't check out books anymore, but it used to be the case. They could always tell the feds to fuck off. Amazon could tell the feds to fuck off. You don't get to know what they've been buying. Fuck off. Phone companies, AT&T, can tell the feds to fuck off. You don't get to know who they've been texting or who they've been calling. You can bring me a warrant, we'll give you the records. That's how it works. But without a right to privacy, they don't have to ask for a warrant. They're not required. They can just say, sure, here. And you have no recourse because you don't have a right to privacy. Who you fuck is none of their business unless you don't have a right to privacy. If you don't have a right to privacy, where you put your penis becomes state business. We had sodomy laws in states all across the South. Indecent behavior. That's how homosexuality was outlawed. Because, what you do behind closed doors was a matter of state interest. If you were having sex that did not lead to procreation, which is obviously man on man, but also male with female without contraception, or with contraception rather, So, if you're a single person trying to get condoms, that's state interest. And why would the state be so interested in you having sex without condoms, or with condoms, or with birth control, or without birth control? Why would the state be so interested in that? Ah, that's a good question. Might it have something to do with immigration too? Oh, maybe these things touch each other. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. And I'm feeling really good right now about doing this shit because Alex Jones is an absolute piece of shit, and he's getting charged $1 billion for spreading lies, and I don't have any problem coming on my channel and speaking truth, drinking my whiskey, having a nice conversation with my nice chat holes here, as Bacon likes to call him, because Alex Jones is a piece of shit. And that makes me happy that I can say that, because that's not defamation. He is a metaphorical piece of shit. That's not defamation. That is not slander. That is true. Alex Jones, he built an empire on lies, bullshit, and nonsense. He built a fucking empire demonizing people with lies, bullshit, and nonsense. Demonizing actual human beings. He's getting exactly what he deserves. They're making an example of him, I hope. And I hope it's an example that lasts for decades. That people look at that and go, oh, I can't just say whatever the fuck I want. I can get sued for defamation and lose. Yes. Yes, you can. You can get sued for defamation and you can lose that lawsuit, and it will cost you $1 billion goddamn dollars. Chef's kiss. Alex Jones is a piece of shit. I love it. I'm here for it. I'm so happy for him. So happy for him. Speaking of your alleged, is adult entertainment music copyrighted? That's a good question, Bacon. Okay, so here's a question I always wondered. I don't know if the music is copyrighted. I'm sure it is. But I don't know if music industry executives want to, like, I think you can probably get away with anything in porn, because I don't think anybody wants to admit that they watch it. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's gonna nobody's gonna sue you for using their music, because then that means they have to admit they were watching your videos. And it's not the first video they've watched. So I mean, like, implicit. If you're like, oh, I came across this video, you're like, oh yeah, how many of these have you been watching? You're like, how much of this shit do you watch? Like, it's a bad thing. Like, I think we can all be grown-ups, right? We've all seen porn, right? We all know what pornography is, like porn videos. They're all over the internet. It's really hard to not come across it. But yeah, I think you can probably get away with just about anything in the porn world. But see, here's a question I always wondered. Like, the guy who came up with reverse cowgirl, or the guy who came up with the doggy style method, or the one where they're like on their side, or like the leg up here. Yeah. Well, like, whatever. Like, are these positions like copyrighted, like trade? Because there was some cinematographer somewhere one day, like Larry Flint. Like, we saw this in The People versus Larry Flint. We saw this where he's like, no. Bring the camera down a little bit lower. Spread the legs a little further. Open it up. Like, that's like a scene from The People versus Larry Flint, right? Like, was that trademarked? Is that a trademark? Like that's what made Hustler, right? Is that trademarked? Did Hustler go to the feds and say, look, look, hear me out. I want to trademark something. How's that for a visual? But did Larry Flint do that? Like, should he have? That would have been brilliant, right? For Larry Flint to go to the feds and say, look, I want to trademark this thing that we're going to be doing. Hear me out. Then no other magazine could have done the same thing, right? Like this is a distinctive look that I want to do for the Hustler mag. Like I want to do a particular layout. Because you know these things were done, there was a first time for these things, right? Like Debbie Does Dallas was a famous, uh, famous video, whatever, from the 70s, I guess, maybe early 80s. Like the first person on film, on screen, to do a deep throat vid, right? The first person on screen, like who was the first person to film to say, okay, what if we did it in the butt? Like, was that trademark? Was that like did this dude like lose out on royalties for years because they didn't trademark anal sex? Could you trademark anal sex? I don't know if that's trademarkable. I'm gonna like get kicked off of YouTube, I bet. Okay, I'm still streaming. That's good. Could that be done? I don't know. I doubt it. Now, Lisa would probably. I'll ask Lisa tomorrow night. She'll be on. That'd be a great question for Lisa. Lisa, I know you're working on this family law guardianship stuff. So hey, I got a question. Can you trademark anal sex? There's this move I want to try. Can I trademark it? As far as I know, nobody else was doing this thing. It's where I like, and then, can I trademark that? I just picture the look on her face. Imagine it. Just sit there. Just wait for a second and imagine that look on her face. Let's do that. Oh Lord. Um, bacon. Sorghum whiskey can be found in. There's a company in Indianapolis that is making sorghum whiskey. I don't know if it's nationally distributed. It can be found in Indiana for sure, but there is a company in Indianapolis, or just outside of Indianapolis, that is doing that sorghum whiskey. But there you go. Could you trademark that sort of thing? I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question, though. I have to look into that. My local feds know not to look through my conversations, the cost of therapy sessions, which would be. Uh, exactly. I do remember one of my college teachers saying my ringtone, which was built into the phone, sounded like porn music. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, nobody ever watches porn. I mean, nobody watches porn. It's just a multi-billion-dollar industry that literally shaped the future of videotapes and uh, digital formats. But nobody watches porn. Nobody. So copywriting her favorite sex position to teach her new partner after I'm done with her. I am definitely going to ask Lisa that tomorrow night. It is definitely going to be a question that I ask her. I'm going to turn this into live chat. I don't know why it was on top chat, but it was. But I have written on my list Glenn. It says it right there, Glenn. Glenn. But I don't really have anything to bitch about for Glenn. Not right now. I'll come back to Glenn, I'm sure. But I will say this: the next, probably the last thing on my list to bitch about, my last rant. And this one's a tough one because it hits home. It hits home hard. Because last week, a friend of mine, well, let's just say nobody watches porn. The reason it's the biggest industry, uh, reason it's like the biggest industry, we're all internet ninjas. Yeah, I mean that's what it is. Nobody watches porn. Nobody watches porn. OnlyFans exists because it's all cooking tutorials. That's all. That's all it is. Cooking tutorials on OnlyFans. Um, so I want to talk about the American healthcare system because the American healthcare system is a shitty cesspool of garbage. And the problem, like the American healthcare system sucks, but not if you're healthy. Because if you're healthy, the American healthcare system is pretty good. You know, you go get checkups, you have a little bit of out-of-pocket expense, and everything's fine. Unless you start really thinking about it. Because if you start thinking about it, the average American makes $54,000 a year. The average American spends on a monthly premium $480 a month on a monthly premium for their health care. And that monthly premium for your health care, that's not health care, that's health insurance, right? That health insurance is your payment to an insurance company that ensures you have access to doctors and healthcare. That's like your club membership dues. Then if you decide to go to the club, there's still a copay. It's a nominal amount, $10, $25, something like that. Unless it's a specialist, then it's $100. If you have tests to do, then it may be, the first several tests may be covered, then, the last few cost you a few $100, whatever. If you have to go to a specialist, then it starts to add up and cost more. So like young people, like all they do is pay the premiums. They literally pay money to be healthy and not use medical care. Roughly 10% of their salary, on average. A little bit more if you're younger, if you're under the average, a little bit more. A little bit less if you're above the average, a little bit more if you're below the average. But you pay 10% of your salary, on average, to not be sick. Yeah, that'd be like paying a nursery to take care of your baby, paying for daycare to look after your kid while you're at school, but you don't have any kids, right? But in this case, you're paying a doctor. Basically, you're paying an insurance company to keep a doctor on retainer just in case you get the flu or whatever. Because you're the most likely ailment you'll face over the course of a 12-month period is the flu. You're most likely to get a flu, maybe a sinus infection, a well man checkup, right? I mean, most of the time you're going to go to the doctor because you're healthy. Some of the time you go to the doctor because you're feeling a little ill. Rarely do you go to the doctor because you're just on the fucking mat sick. You got an achy knee, you got a twisted wrist, a back, and an ankle, whatever it is. You're on the mat, you can't do it, you need some drugs. You go to the doc for the drugs. Give me some painkillers, give me a brace, fix my leg, fix my knee, fix my shoulder, whatever it is, right? And this doesn't pay for your teeth or your eyes, mind you. This is just a straight up 10% of your income to pay for being healthy. If you get sick, it's more than that. 11, 12, 15, 20. God forbid it's something catastrophic. Heart disease, you need a transplant, you're having a heart attack, a stroke, you're hospitalized, you get in a wreck, broken bones, broken joints, God forbid something like that happens, because then you're going to start racking up some money. Then you got to start paying a couple $1,000s, a few $1,000s to get things set, get things. Unless you're paying a little bit higher in your premium, then you don't have to worry about that. But average, we're talking averages. Broken bones, get them reset, a few $100, $500, $1,000, whatever. It starts adding up. You got to get medication. You got to get some painkillers. The generics are pretty relatively cheap, but the insurance company gets to decide that because they get to negotiate prices unless you're on Medicare, and then they don't. Well, they do now. If you're healthy, our health insurance system is great. If you're not healthy, our health insurance system sucks. Because our health insurance system doesn't want to pay for your unhealthiness. Because they don't make any money if you're unhealthy. Like this is generally, there's a whole lot of people who don't even know how insurance works. The way insurance works is you pool risk. You get, let's start with 10 people. 10 people throw $1,000 into the pot. And they say, if any of us get sick, you can use this money to pay for your illness. That's $10,000 in the pot. The next year is $20,000. Next year is $30,000. The odds of any one of you, of the 10 of you getting sick, is 1 in 1,000. You're all young, smattering of ages from from 25 to 55. The old guy is going to get sick. So basically, all the young guys are paying for the old guy to have a heart attack or whatever's going to happen because he's 55, 60 years old. He's a little overweight. You know what's going to happen. So they throw in $1,000 a month, or $1,000 a year, $1,000 a year, $1,000. Finally, the old guy finally gets sick, or maybe the young guy gets in a wreck, or somewhere in the middle. Something happens. Like the old guy just remarkably fit. The guy who's 25, 30 years old gets in a wreck, smashes up his body. All that money goes to save him. Everybody throws $1,000 back in the pot, $1,000 back in the pot, $1,000 back in the pot, $1,000. It builds up again, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. Next thing you know, one of the guys, one of the gals, one of the guys, they have a baby. It pays the doctor to birth the baby. That's kind of how it goes. And you build that pool out, not 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people, 500,000 people. You build that pool out. And out of 10,000 people, there's a 1 in 1,000 chance that, or 1 in 10,000 chance that there's going to be a catastrophic illness. But everybody's throwing $1,000 in the pool. So every year, there's $1 million going to the pool to pay for medical bills. It builds up, and it builds up, and it builds up. And there's somebody to manage it. And, you pay people to manage the money. You pay people to manage the accounting. You pay people to manage the doctors. So, 20, 30% of that money goes to administrative costs. But the rest of that money goes into the pool to pay for your medical expenses, but not your medical expenses. You're not putting $1,000 in there to pay for your medical expenses. Your medical expenses are going to be $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 when you need it. You're putting money in to pay for everybody's medical expenses. Babies, flus, colds, sinus infections, knee replacements, broken bones, twisted wrists, twisted ankles, twisted joints in general, rehab for knee surgeries, orthoscopic surgery, thumb stuff or shoulder stuff or, whatever it is. You're putting money in there to pay for everybody's expenses. Your expenses are going to be much higher than the money that you put in, but that's what all the other people are for. And insurance gets more and more and more efficient the more and more and more people you add to the pool. Because everybody's not going to get sick unless you live in a place where there's a cancer node or something like that. But that's a different circumstance entirely. Everybody's not going to get cancer at the same time. Some people will get cancer, not everybody. But that's the whole point of the insurance pool. Everybody puts in $1,000 a year, $4,000 a year in our case, because we're on average about $5,400 in premiums per year. Everybody puts in $5,000 a year. And that little pot builds up and builds up and builds up and builds up. And 20% of the people in the pool get sick, like bad sick, like cancer sick. And they got to pull a shit ton of money out, 5 times more than what they put in. But the other people, they just keep putting money into the pool. They never get sick. 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 That's how insurance works. You don't pay for your illness with insurance. With insurance, you pay for everybody else's insurance. And when you get sick, everybody else pays for your sickness. That's how insurance works. And the more people you put into an insurance pool, the cheaper that insurance gets. That's why insurance companies don't split up and get smaller to become more efficient and better at providing insurance. They merge together and get bigger and bigger and bigger to get more efficient at providing insurance. They build up scales. And they don't duplicate administration, and they only have one CEO, and they only have one marketing officer, and they only have one sales force, and everything gets consolidated, and they don't have to do this. So the ideal circumstance would be one insurance company or 5 insurance companies servicing the whole country, not 50 insurance companies servicing, or 250 insurance companies servicing all 50 states, 5 in every state. It'd be one insurance company for the entire country, and maybe 5 for the entire country. That's the ideal circumstance. National health insurance with all a similar policy. And if you want to pay, or one company servicing everybody with one set of coverages. And then if you want to get premium coverages, you go to private companies, get additional coverage on top of the coverage you have. Like, that makes sense because that's how insurance works. But you have a small group of people in this country that are opposed to that idea. For whatever purpose, they're opposed to it. They don't want everyone to have health insurance. They don't want everyone to have coverage. They don't want everyone to have fair access. They say, oh, if you have access to it, it's fine. But if, just like the senator from Vermont said, if you can't afford it, you don't have access to it. It doesn't matter if we all have access to buy the most expensive house in the neighborhood. If you can't afford it, you don't have access to it. And if the cheapest house in the neighborhood is more expensive than everybody has funds to buy it, then nobody has access to housing. Like, oh, there's plenty of empty houses, but they all cost 5 times more than what we make. That does not make it accessible. That just means it's there. We can't afford it. It's not accessible. And one of those people is my Senator Ted Cruz, a guy who claims that after kneeling for 3 hours in a Baptist church here in Houston, he had a revelation from God to tell him to run for president back in 2016. This is the same guy who has been opposed to the Affordable Care Act that basically sets basic standards and regulations, baseline standards for insurance companies to maintain coverage for people. So they couldn't drop you if you got sick. They couldn't, and I'm telling you, it happens. I know people personally who have lost insurance coverage because they broken leg, unable to work, fired from his job, drops coverage, loses his house because he can't pay medical bills, loses his house. Family gets thrust into poverty because they can't pay the medical bills. That's the reality of America. That's our fucking healthcare system. That people get sick and go into poverty through no fault of their own. Just, step on a crack, twist your ankle, crack the bone, can't walk, can't work, lose your insurance, lose coverage, medical bills pile up. Medical poverty, of all things. There's also a reality in this country because of people and policies like what Ted Cruz supports, that drug companies can charge whatever they want. Medicare, which Medicaid, which supports people below a certain income threshold for medical services, medical care, medical insurance, prescription drugs. They can't negotiate with prescription drug companies, or they couldn't until now negotiate with prescription drug companies in order to lower the cost of medicine. But people like Ted Cruz were completely opposed to that because paying for drugs is, I guess, a virtue. I don't know. As long as they're the right drugs that go to the pharmaceutical companies that fund a large portion of Ted Cruz's reelection campaigns. And the reality is that sometimes people have to choose to buy drugs in order to keep themselves alive or pay rent for their apartments so that they can live. And the reality is also that in a lot of these cases, they're making this decision again and 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 again because it's a chronic health condition, and they have to choose again and again and again to skip drugs or pay rent, or then take their drugs and skip rent, and then take extra jobs to catch up to rent, and it becomes this ongoing struggle where the waves come in and the waves go out, and you're continuously fighting against the tide until finally, at some point, you finally decide, I can't take this anymore. I'm just going to enjoy the last 6 months of my life. And then you decide to quit taking your drugs because this has just been too much. And I'm just gonna enjoy the time that I have left. I'm fighting against a rising tide. I'm just going to enjoy the time that I have left. And I've seen this before with chemo patients, cancer patients. They're just like, I got 6 months to live. Chemo's going to give me 9. Why should I do that? I'll take the 6. I'm good. But when you're 54 and you have a chronic condition and it's manageable with drugs, then you can take the drugs, but the drugs are extremely expensive, and you're constantly getting notices of eviction because you're 30 days behind or 16 days behind or 25 days behind, and you're constantly fighting this fight, and you're fighting this fight every single month, and you get sick to the point where you lose your job, and then you lose your insurance, and you get the last of your drugs get you healthy again, and you go back to a new job, and you get new insurance, and you get fine, but the wear and tear and the grind gets you sick, and you have to stay home, and you lose your job because you missed 2 weeks of work because of the chronic condition that gets flared up because of the work that you're doing. And then you lose your job and you lose your insurance, but the last of your drugs gets you sick over the next 7 days. And then you go in a new job and you just start the cycle over, and you keep the cycle going, and you keep the cycle going, and you keep the cycle going. At some point, you break. And when you break, 6 months later, you end up in a hospital bed on a ventilator, and you're done. There's no coming back. You're finished. And it's policies from people like Ted Cruz, who sat on their knees for 3 hours and claimed they got a revelation from God, claimed to have sat on their knees for 3 hours and got a revelation from God to run for president. But part and parcel of his policy for running president is telling poor people to just fucking die, because they're opposed to policies that make the drugs affordable for these people. They're opposed to the policies that make healthcare affordable for these people. They're opposed to the policies that make life in any way, shape, or form more accommodating for these people. Childcare, healthcare, education, public education, medical costs, prescription drugs, any of these things. Opposed to it completely and totally. Would have completely repealed the ACA and replaced it with nothing. Opposed to Medicare negotiating drug prices. I mean, these are real live policies that led to the death of my dear friend Anita. Real life policies that have theoretical policies that have real life circumstantial impacts. Real life circumstantial impacts. It's not just in theory that, some stuff will happen, they'll figure it out. They do. They figure it out as best they can for as long as they can, but eventually they reach a breaking point. They're just like, it's just too goddamn much. And then you find yourself in the room like you found yourself in the room for so many other people, so many times in the past. You find yourself in the room sitting around the bed with somebody who's connected to a ventilator and being kept alive by drugs that they can't possibly afford because they're not going to be earning any money ever again in their life. Our healthcare system sucks, especially if you're sick. We pay money every single month to not use doctors, to not use prescriptions, to not use therapy for rehabilitation or for mental health. We pay money every single month to not use healthcare. And it's more that we would pay if it was centrally administered. And it's causing people to die. Real people, human beings, with friends, family, and children. And 2 cats that we have upstairs yowling in our spare bedroom right now because they're in a new place for the first time in their lives. Our healthcare system sucks. And this is why I've had probably the shittiest week I've had in about 5 years. 3 years. Because it just so happens that Anita's room was on the same floor as my dad in 2018. Just so happens it was on the same floor. He was this room, she was that room. Our healthcare system sucks. But we can do something about it. And if this rant has any point, that's the point. We can do something about it. The more people who vote, the better ideas we get. The better ideas we get, the better candidates we get. The better candidates we get, the better governance we get. The better governance we get, the better our odds of being able to prevent things like this from happening. And there's no such thing as a perfect system. There's no such thing as a perfect system. But I can show you an imperfect system. I can show you a system that sucks out loud. I can show you a system that is possibly the worst of all worlds. The system that where the powers that be just lean back and go, fuck it, die. Because we're living in that system. And it sucks. It thoroughly sucks. It absolutely 100% thoroughly sucks. And we're living in a world where what happened last week didn't have to happen, but it did. And the people who can do something about it don't care. They just don't care because it doesn't affect them. But the way that we can make that affect them is to show up in November and vote. Vote to put people in office who would prevent that from happening. Vote to put people in office who at least say that they would work to stop that and actually have plans and policies that would work to prevent it. That's how we do it. And to go back to what I said earlier, if you think that the Second Amendment is going to protect your rights, where was it when you lost the right to lost your Miranda rights earlier this year? Where was it when you lost your privacy rights? Where was it when you lost your all the other rights that we've lost due to just a hand wave of justices? Where was it when we the people lost the opportunity for our elected representatives to appoint a Supreme Court justice in 2015? Where were your guns when we lost the right to appoint oversight committees? And where were they? Like, we don't lose our rights unless we let people take them. And if you have to fight, pick up a gun to protect them, you already lost them. You've lost your way of life. So, I guess the theme is to fucking go vote in November. But not just you. Not just you. No, not just you. Have a barbecue. Throw a barbecue in your backyard. Throw a barbecue. Bring your friends over. Early voting starts October 24th, at least in the state of Texas. Early voting. Find out when early voting starts in your state. Throw a barbecue in your backyard on the first Saturday of early voting. And then load everybody into your van and say, okay, before we eat, everybody's here, everybody gather around, put your beers down. Before we eat, before we start drinking, everybody come here. Let's go get in the vans and go vote. Load up your fucking cars and everybody go vote. And then come back to your house, crack out the beers, turn on the music, start drinking, start cooking. And that's how you change the world. That's how you change the entire fucking world. Get 10 of your friends over to your house, have a barbecue. Start the fire. That's fine. Start the fire. Get the coals heated up and say, while the coals are heating up, let's go down the road to the early voting stop. Let's go down the road to the early voting station. It's at the library. It's only about 5 miles away from your house. You know where it's at. It's not that fucking far. Community center right down there. Everybody load up in the cars. Let's go. Caravan down there. It's going to take you 15 minutes. Go in there, vote, cast your votes, get the fuck out, go back, finish heating up the coals. Meat's on the grill, having the beers, you're ready to go. October 24th here in the state of Texas. I think that's when it is. Let me find that date. That's how it goes. That week, October 24th. So October 29th is the first Saturday of early voting, at least here in the state of Texas. I don't know about your state, but here in the state of Texas, October 29th, have your backyard barbecue. 10 friends, 15 friends, 20 friends, as many as you can gather, even if it's just 3. Everybody get together. Say, okay, that's how it's going to go. You don't have to go vote with me, but we're going to go vote. And if you don't want to go vote, it's going to cost you $5 to stay at the party. The opposite of a poll tax. You don't charge them $5 to go vote. You charge them $5 not to vote, like they do in Australia. You charge them to not vote. And that's how you change the world. That's how you change. Quit making this shit taboo. This shit does not have to be taboo. This shit is just how we run. We used to talk about this stuff all the time. What's best for people? How this should work? What's the best solution for this? It's cheaper to get to literally. It is cheaper to build an apartment complex for homeless people, homeless veterans, homeless people in general. It's cheaper to rent an apartment and put them in the apartment and provide services to them in the apartment, like medical care, health care, mental health care, socks, underwear, shirts, laundry. It is cheaper to provide them those services in a rented apartment than it is to build a shelter for them. And even if they go ape shit and destroy the fucking apartment and bounce, it's cheaper to renovate the apartment than it is to arrest them, put them in jail, provide them services in jail. It's cheaper to provide the services in a rented apartment for a homeless person than it is to send social workers out into the street to provide them services there. It's cheaper to provide them services in their apartment than it is to provide them emergency room services. It's cheaper. Why don't we do that? Why not? Why not? I mean, you don't have to rent all the apartments in a single apartment block. You can rent an apartment here, apartment there, apartment, whatever. 15, 20, 30, 40, 100 apartments scattered around the city. They don't all have to be in the same apartment complex. It's cheaper to administer the services in the apartments that you rent for these people than it is to just find them on the streets and say, hey, you need to do this. We need to get you vaccinated. We need to get you inoculated. We need to get you with your meds. We need to get you blankets. We need to get you all the stuff that we need to get you. And then they just disappear. But if you have an apartment for them, yeah, maybe they destroy the apartment. Cheaper to renovate it than it is to put them in jail. It's cheaper to clean the place up than it is to arrest them, put them in jail, service them through the prison system. We don't talk about this stuff. It's taboo. We don't want to start arguments. We don't want to be offensive. Well, don't be offensive. Don't be a fucking asshole. Talk like reasonable, rational people. We used to do this shit in bars all the time. Bowling leagues, bars, video game arcades. We used to do this shit all the time. But now, for some reason, we can't. It's taboo. Oh my God. Why? Why the fuck is it taboo? Shouldn't be. Just reasonable, rational people talking about reasonable, rational things. Makes sense to me. Let's scroll through chat since I'm here. Here we go. Nobody watches. Oh, yeah. Back to the board. Internet ninjas. Funny enough, watching a video about a veterinarian. I think you mean doctor who works on animals. Talk about the harmful stuff in dog food. Crazy how much crossover there is with our food. Yeah, dog food is a weird, like, if you would look at the ingredients of dog food, like, the first 3 ingredients are not always food. Like, bone meal and all kinds of weird shit. But we always check that and make sure that we're feeding our dog at least, the first ingredient is always at least, like, turkey or lamb or something, whatever it is. Like, the second or third ingredient would be rice, but, like, the first ingredient is always some kind of meat. Because, dogs like meat. Anyway. It's all about teaching what the cure is for most chronic ailments. Yeah, that's an extremely good point. Treatments for chronic ailments versus the prevention of chronic ailments. There's not a whole lot of healthcare that talks about prevention of chronic ailments. They're like, you're coming in here, you got chronic pain, let's treat the chronic pain. A lot of healthcare is addressing the problem at its outer edge versus going back, treating the root causes. And that was part of the principle of the ACA when it was originally like not so much treating the diabetes, but treating the cause of the diabetes. Not so much treating the you treat the diabetes, but also treat the cause of diabetes so that they don't have to come in. A lot of the way that we interact with our healthcare system today is that we go to the doctor not when we start to get sick, but when it's advanced to the point where it's worth going to the doctor. And that part of that is because we've been taught, we've learned, we've been educated by the system that if it's minor, don't bother with the doctor. But a lot of cases like emergency room cases are not just critical acute injuries. And a lot of them are, but a lot of them aren't. A lot of emergency room cases aren't acute injuries. A lot of emergency room problems are problems that were minor issues that have festered and grown over time from a minor discomfort to a major problem, like flu or COVID or an infection of some sort, where it was like a little thing that if it could have been treated early and done, finished, no big deal. But instead of going to a primary care physician, they go to nothing. And they do nothing, and they just let it sit, and it festers, and it grows, and it becomes a problem. And next thing you know, they're getting their leg taken off because it was just a cut that became an infection that grew and grew and grew. Then it got into the blood system, and now they're losing a leg. And that's an extreme case, but that's not. It's not a particularly unusual set of events. That's the sort of thing that happens with a regularity that's more regular than we think. I personally know a person whose dad, he cut his foot at Schlitterbahn in New Braunfels, and he cut his foot at Schlitterbahn in New Braunfels, and it got infected, and it was just a cut on his foot. It's no big deal. And just so you know, Schlitterbahn in New Braunfels is a water park. It's a water park that uses river water from the Como River rather than chlorinated water. It's a beautiful park that's kind of carved into the edge of a hill. It's shady and it's gorgeous, and it's in central Texas, and it's hill country, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. It's like a part of nature. It's not like your typical water park that's just a bunch of water slides in a parking lot. This is like on hillsides, and it's an absolutely beautiful, gorgeous place. And they use river water so it doesn't smell like chlorine. But Mr. It was Brandy Bell, not Brandy Bell. Yeah, it was Brandy Bell. Brandy Bell, that was her name. Mr. Bell would he cut his foot, and instead of going to the doctor when he got home, he's like, it's no big deal. Put some Neosporin on it, put a Band-Aid on it, whatever. The cut got infected, it festered, it grew, but there was something from the water that was in the cut that caused him to literally lose his foot. He lost his foot mid-shin because he didn't fucking go to the doctor when he got his foot cut. He's like, it's no big deal, I'll treat it at home. And then he became red and pussy, and it was a band trip in, I think, March. It was a band trip in March, and when we saw him again in when the next school year started in September, in September the next school year started, he's coming in a wheelchair. Like, what the fuck happened to Mr. Bell? Why does he only have a left foot? Where's his right foot? What the fuck? Yeah, but that's what happened. He got his foot amputated because he got infected, and he didn't go to the doctor. He put it off and put it off, put it off, put it off till it was point of no return. He lost his foot. Diabetics are the same way, where they have a festering sore on their foot and bad circulation and whatever. And they end up losing their foot because they don't get it treated. They don't treat the root cause of the problem. They treat they choose to treat the chronic injury when it gets worse, when it gets bad enough to bother going to the doctor, because going to the doctor is expensive. We don't do that here in the United States. In other countries, it's different. There's a different philosophy. There's a different mentality when it comes to interacting with the medical care. With medical care, you go to the doctor when you get sick. You get a little bit sick, you go to the doctor, and they give you the drugs. They knock that shit out right away. Instead of getting a really bad flu or really bad cold, you get a little bit sick, you go to the doctor, knock that shit right out. You're down for a day and you're back up and running. But I could be 80% for 4 days, and then 20% for a day, and I'm back at it, and then I'm sick for the entire week. I'm getting everybody around me sick. I'm sick for the whole weekend, everybody around me, and then I miss out work for a day, and then I lose my weekend and this is just like minor stuff. I lose my weekend, and then I come back, and then I'm all better on Monday. But I was sick all last week, and everybody around me, I'm putting them at risk. Versus, I'm not feeling so good. I should probably go to the doctor. Go to the doctor. Doctor gives you those the good drugs, the Z-Pack, the whatever, the antibacterial, what's it called? Penicillin stuff, whatever. Knocks that shit out, right out. Boom. Worst is you miss a half a day. And then nobody around you's getting sick. Maybe you miss the next day. You're feeling shitty on Tuesday. You go to the doc Tuesday afternoon. Wednesday, you lay down, you rest, you recuperate, you get some fluids in you because you're on the Z-Pack, and you're the side effects of the Z-Pack is diarrhea. So you're chugging all the fluids, you're fine. You go to work on Thursday, you're good. Nobody around you had to get sick. Hell, you could have probably worked at home on Wednesday if you really wanted to be dedicated. But that's our relationship with the healthcare system. We avoid it. We don't want to go to it because it's expensive. We spend $400 a month and then we don't want to use it because once we go to the doctor, it's going to cost us another $20 and a day. It's just a pain in the ass, and we don't get we don't get days off for sick leave most of the time. It's just a pain in the ass. It's a fucked up mentality. We worship the notion of being strong and going to work. Like what? And the reality is that most of us could just use another $1,000, and then work isn't like the end all be all. You don't have to go to work. It's not work isn't your god. An extra $1,000 a month, you can choose where the fuck you want to work. Was that such a bad thing? Oh my God, the company doesn't control my life. Yeah, fuck the company. Maybe y'all should make better workplaces. Places where people want to be. Places where people don't mind working. You know, not be such a fastidious piece of shit making people drive an hour and change to work every day to sit in an office and answer emails when we can sit right here in our home and answer emails. You need to Zoom in a conference? Let's Zoom in a conference. That's fine. Answer my emails, be done by 10 o'clock, get some paperwork done, crank out the TPS reports like a boss. Ugh. A lot of study on cancer and its origins, and it has a lot to do with field of nutrition. Come down to it. Yeah, I mean, nutrition, I wonder about that too, because we have such a high sugar diet. I wonder how much of our sugar diet feeds cancers and things like that. I know there's a significant part of cancer that's genetic. I've lost a friend to cancer too. That cancer's a fucking cheater. I think about this every once in a while. That like people talk about fighting cancer. You don't fucking fight cancer. Cancer fucking cheats. Cancer comes into your life. Cancer comes like a goddamn asteroid. You don't fight it. It comes, and you either survive it or you don't. It cheats like a motherfucker. Gets into your endocrine system. It spreads into your entire fucking body. It's dastardly. Cancer tells your body to fuck itself up, and it just grows uncontrollable masses, and the only thing you can do to fight cancer is to poison yourself, to kill the mass that's growing inside your body, to kill off the part of your body that is trying to kill you. Kill it off to the point where you can open it up and cut it out and throw it away and then seal yourself up. And that's how cancer works. It's nefarious. It's cruel and it's evil and it's mean and it lies and it's a fucking cheater. Because you can beat it here and you can beat it here and you can beat it here and then it like sneaks up and gets you here. It fucks with you. And cancer is a piece of shit and I hate cancer. But you don't fight it. You survive it. It comes at you like wave after wave after wave from the ocean and you either drown or you don't. If something like obesity, you can fight obesity. You can get up in the morning and go run or walk or ride your bike or whatever it is. You can fight obesity. You don't fight cancer. Cancer comes and fucking just wrecks your day. That's it. It comes and you hold on for your dear life and you hope you survive. And I wonder how much obesity and cancer is linked. Because, the high sugar diet, the high fat content, there's so much food in your system to feed runaway cellular replication and duplication. I mean, it's just fucked. It's fucked. I got opinions on cancer, and they're not popular because it sucks. Cancer's not popular. But, you don't lay down and take it. You put yourself in the hands of the medicine, and you put yourself in the hands of the doctors, and you keep your spirits up, and you keep your your strength and your health the best you can, but you just gotta fucking survive it. You gotta hope for the best. And yeah, fuck cancer. Fuck cancer. Um, you see, actually, Bacon, this isn't entirely true. Like the proposed solution for healthcare isn't a government solution. Well, most of the reasonable, rational solutions that I've seen, they're not government solutions. They're private based solutions, like flood insurance. Flood insurance is a government insurance protocol. It's a government policy that's administered by private companies. We went through State Farm with our flood insurance at our last house, but it's literally State Farm was reselling the government insurance policy. All insurance is already government regulated. It's already government regulated. The Health and Human Services tells qualified insurance tells companies what a qualified insurance plan is. If they want their plan to be sold on the public the public marketplace where people can go buy their insurance, if it's not offered through the companies, if they want their insurance offered, then it has to meet certain minimum standards set by the Health and Human Services Department. It's just a difference of instead of paying your premium directly to United Healthcare, you pay your premium through your taxes, and the premium is paid from the feds through United Healthcare. And if you want more insurance other than the basic national minimum, you would go straight to United Healthcare and say, "Hey, I want more insurance." And they say, "Okay, well, here's our Cadillac plan, and here's our..." And I would expect, this being the United States, that most federal, I would think that the national public option, so to speak, that they were talking about back in 2012 would be 80% of what we need. And if you want the additional coverage, you pay another $200, $300 a month, which is basically what we're paying now to get the premium Cadillac plan that would cover, all the other stuff. But most of your young, healthy folks would just take the 80% plan. They don't need to pay extra fucking money for the fancy special jewel-coated ambulance plan. They don't need that shit. I mean, they said it all the time. Young, healthy people need to be in the insurance pools in order to make sure that the old, unhealthy people are covered. Yeah, like people who don't need insurance need to pay for insurance. How do you make people who don't have insurance pay for insurance? You take it out of their fucking taxes. I think it was, I don't remember if it was the Heritage Foundation. I think it was the Koch brothers. The Koch Foundation said that a national health care plan that was basically a health insurance policy that covered all 50 states simultaneously. A United States health care plan would cost $80 billion less in aggregate than what we're paying now. And you can still use private companies. You don't have to get them out of the game. I mean, they know how to service policies. I mean, we use a quasi-private / governmental entity to produce electricity in the state of Texas. ERCOT manages the electricity providers. The distribution is managed by a single company, CenterPoint, and the residential, or the grid rather, is managed by CenterPoint, and the residential and business distribution is handled by several private companies. So, there's models for this. And it doesn't have to be doctors being employed by the state or doctors being employed by the government. It could be doctors having their own private business, paid by insurance companies that are reselling basically public insurance that everybody is participating in. And they can, argue whether or not they want to that they need to be. But if you're good with your Medicare or Medicaid or whatever U.S. insurance policy that you automatically have, and you show up at the doctor and you say, I have, they say, do you have a premium policy? No, I got the base policy. They're like, okay, cool. We'll schedule you in, whatever. I mean, they can choose to have their priority list or not have their priority list, but I'm sure there'd be plenty of doctors who'd be like, yeah, we'll take whoever the fuck shows up. And then you just go into the office with the rest of the livestock. um, yeah, yeah. I mean, I've had, I've sat in that room enough. I don't. Being in the room, I refer to it as being in the room. Being in the room when somebody goes to sleep for the last time, when the machines get turned off, when the nurses give you hugs and they say, I'm so sorry. It's a surreal experience. It's a painful experience. It's a relief in many ways because, it's over. Your ordeal is over. Their ordeal is over. Being in the room is surreal. I've done it too many times. But the reality is I'm going to do it a lot more. Just thinking, I don't know about y'all, but I get kind of morbid sometimes when I'm in my own world, and I kind of think of how many people I'm going to outlive. How many people in my life I'm likely to outlive. And I think about that, like being in the room, and the people who outlive me, like how can I make their experience less traumatic? It's Yeah, it's a surreal experience, and it's been a tough week. It's been a tough week. So, um, and see, the Bacon. The thing about voting is that's really the only way we have to change things. Uh, but voting is the bare. It's like the pinprick. It's the scratching on the surface. There's the voting. There's the advocacy. There's the phone calling. There's the volunteering with a campaign. There's the volunteering with a particular party. Um, there's not going to be a party that's perfect. Uh, my own personal involvement came. I was a nihilist for so long. Just it all sucks. It all doesn't matter. Who gives a fuck? I don't care. I voted third party, fourth party in some cases, all my life up until 2016, when there was a clear and present danger, and I was looking at it, going, okay. Like, you could see things going crazy for a few years before that with John McCain and Mitt Romney and George Bush, and the second time he ran, the first time he ran, he was kind of a normal conservative. The first time, talking about the compassionate conservatism shit. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. I'm cool with that. I'm good with that. I'm down with that. I was down with the neoconservative shit, and America having its power to do what it wanted to do and reshape the world, and quit fucking with despots and quit fucking with dictators, because we don't need that shit anymore. It was the thing to do during the Cold War, where you prop up dictators and despots because they support your side, not the other side. And you'd rather have a shitty dictator supporting you than a shitty dictator supporting the communists. So that's just the way the world was ordered back in the 1980s and 1990s. And then, things changed in 2000. Things changed in George W. in 1996 when he was elected after Clinton. Wasn't that 2006? No, he was elected in 2000. He was elected in 2000 and 04, and then Obama was 08. That's right. So G-Dub was elected in 2000, and then you have the terrorist attacks that basically won him his re-election in 2004, 3 years later. And things took a drastic change. And I noted this is when I noted the first time I was cognizant of a change was when he started talking about hardening the southern border because Islamic terrorists posing as Mexican migrants could slip across the border. And he created this very fake rhetorical problem that wasn't actually happening in real life. That our southern border was porous and a challenge, and Islamic terrorists could disguise themselves as Mexican migrants coming across the border. And that's a whole nother discussion to talk about the migrant issue and why it is what it is. But then when he flamed that up in order to do the Patriot Act stuff and national security stuff and inflame stuff. And then when it came time to talk about immigration reform, the rhetoric was so hot that they couldn't do immigration reform because he had invented this problem of Islamic terrorists hiding under every rock in the desert of the American Southwest. So when it came time to do immigration reform, that they had painted themselves into a corner. And I'm like, okay, this could be a problem in the upcoming years because they've painted themselves into this rhetorical corner of not being able to do immigration reform. And that was a problem then the next year, in the next administration with Obama, and the next administration with Obama, and then the next administration with the previous president. He just cranked it up to 11 after that. But that's another discussion to probably have because I mean I've known so many people over the years that they would travel between Washington State and the Chihuahua state, the border state of Chihuahua down in Mexico, doing harvests on the West Coast. Back in the late 70s and early 80s, they would that was their migration route, is that they would go up and down the West Coast doing harvests as the season moved from the south in Chihuahua up through California. And as the season progressed, they'd go up through Southern California, Northern California, all the way up to Washington. And then at the end of the season, they'd turn around and go back south. And that's how it would go. It was a seasonal flow of people from south in Mexico through the border, up through all the way up to the edge of Canada, and then they'd turn around and come back. And that was the regular flow of people. But then when Reagan had his immigration reform, instead of it kind of being a revolving door at the border where it was kind of porous and fine, when he did his immigration reform, he made it harder for people to leave the United States without documentation, which meant that the people who came into the United States without documentation on their little harvesting route, going from Chihuahua north all along the border, or all along the West Coast through California, through the what's it called, the Emerald Valley, Green Valley, whatever that valley, the Central Valley, in California, harvesting all the produce and lettuce and tomatoes and all the shit, and all the way up to Washington, turn around all the way back south. It made it impossible for them to cross back over the border into Mexico. So they make all that money during the seasons, and then get back down south, and they couldn't go home. So you created literally the policy that was immigration reform in the 80s created a population, instead of a transient population that was moving into the United States and out of the United States, created a permanent population in the United States of migrant farming workers. That's what that was part of the reason why they had to do the amnesty thing, was because there were people who were just moving back and forth. They had to give them amnesty because they were trapped in the United States because of the policy change that they implemented. Now, that didn't stop people from coming into the United States. It just stopped the people in the United States from leaving the United States. And then they updated the policy and modified to the point where it's really hard to get in, really hard to get out. But it's literally a change of American policy without creating an alternative work visa program, or expanding the work visa program, or expanding the ability for people to get proper documentation to come to the United States, that made the problem what it is. It's literally a bad policy that created the problem that we have. And instead of correcting the problem, and they flirted with correcting the problem over the years, flirted with it. But after the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001, and George W. Bush's inflamed rhetoric about terrorists under every rock in the American Southwest, because Islamic terrorists are the most ridiculous thing. Like they're gonna fly to Mexico and hide out with a bunch of migrants and walk across the fucking desert to get into the United States, when they can literally just fly into the United States and disappear, go to the local gun store, buy some guns, and fuck shit up. It's the dumbest, the absolute dumbest, the absolute dumbest rhetorical tool to scare people about immigrants. But anyway, with that inflamed rhetoric, it made it impossible to do the any kind of immigration reform, because making it easier for people to get documentation to come to the United States became impossible for one group of people, because then they had to say, you know what, we're just going to make it impossible for people to come to the United States. And that's not working out for anybody. That's not working out for anybody. That's just bad. And like, there's a reasonable ration. Like John McCain kept saying, we need a high wall and wide gates. That's how you reform immigration. He kept saying that, high wall and wide gates. And the Republican Party got a little pissy with him. He ended up being a maverick because he dared say such a thing. But that's kind of how the rhetoric used to be. But now the entire party has gone, nope, no immigration, fuck them, keep them out. 5's too many, 10's too many, 1's too many, none. We want nobody coming in until we can make sure that everybody coming in is properly documented. And they'll say we don't have any problem with legal immigration, but then you ask them how many is legal? How many is enough? Oh, none. Even people coming asking for asylum, requesting asylum, no, they don't. No, 24,000 Venezuelans seeking asylum. No, too many. That many is the right number, or I guess it's that many. See what I did there? Anyway, who the hell are the other 4 people watching this not saying? I'll note that we've got 2 more subscribers. We went down to 860 and now we're up to 862. One of the things he said, bone meal, corn, wheat, soy products. I love this point. I've never seen wolf chase down a stalk of corn. Yeah, I know. Like, I know that dogs like broccoli and carrots and things like that. They go crunch. I think they like the texture. But dude, their teeth aren't designed for vegetables. Their teeth aren't designed for rice and corn and shit. They eat like they can go their entire life without eating a stalk of broccoli and be perfectly happy. They eat beef. They eat meat. That's what they eat. Dogs eat meat. Their whole body is designed to eat meat. Ugh. Anyway, a natural water park out there. It's only wild waves. Oh yeah, Schlitterbahn is beautiful. Look it up. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's huge and it's beautiful and it's shady and it's cut right in the edge of the hills there. I mean, there's some parking lot type places around there, but it is a jewel. It is an absolute gorgeous jewel. Was a big contribution to the Wiccan dog walker story. I don't know what the Wiccan dog walker story is, but I'm going to ask you to explain that to Friday night when I come on your show. And by the way, thanks for letting me come on your show on Friday nights. That's a great way for me to unwind. I'm usually a couple of drinks in by the time I get onto your show, and at least one bowl. Wiccan dog walker. See, if I write it down, I'll remember it. but I might still forget it because I'm a couple of drinks in. You and Cappy would agree on that. The baby boomer thought of, if I can't see it, how do you know your word? Boy, oh man, don't get me started on the fucking baby boomers. Baby boomers are the largest cohort of people in the United States and responsible for a betrayal of 4 generations of Americans. They betrayed their parents, who passed all the laws that they were advocating for when they were kids. The fucking baby boomers didn't pass the civil rights laws. The baby boomers didn't end Jim Crow. The baby boomers didn't do equal voting rights. The baby boomers didn't do any of that shit. The baby boomers were out demonstrating in the streets when their parents were passing those laws. So it was the greatest generation, the World War II generation, that passed all those fucking laws that the baby boomers take. Oh, we did civil rights. No, you didn't do fucking civil rights. You did not do civil rights. Civil rights were in the 60s. You were in your 20s. You were fighting in Vietnam. You were marching the streets. You were smoking your pot. You were being countercultural when your parents passed those laws. You didn't do shit. You didn't do shit. And then you got through college and you went on to get your jobs and you went on to do all your shit, but then you decided, you know what? I got my education using the VA. I had our stable home in the suburbs using the VA money for home loans. I got my education using the military defense veterans education funds stuff. We put people in power that reduced regulation and reduced antitrust rules, so that we were able to get bigger and better and bigger and stronger corporations, and we benefited from that. We got, to their benefit, to their credit, they had people in place. Volcker, actually, I think Volcker might have been, was Volcker. Yeah, we'll give Volcker to the baby boomers. Got inflation under control, but that was under the governance of a greatest generation president, Ronald Reagan. Baby boomers didn't do shit. They started pulling up the fucking ladders as soon as they got in power. They started pulling up the fucking ladders, and then their kids, us Gen Xers, we're fucking latchkey kids. We were at home when they were at work. They didn't fucking raise us. We raised ourselves. We were feral goddamn kids making Hot Pockets and bologna bowls and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, raising ourselves when they fucking came home from work, minding their own goddamn business, coming home from work at 7 o'clock at night. We were walking home from school. We were opening our own doors. We were doing our own homework. We were doing our own shit when they were at work. They go to work. They were trying to hold on to the vestiges of their old social contract stuff, going to Tupperware parties and going to Avon parties and going to bowling leagues and doing all the other shit that boomer parents did. They weren't fucking raising us. And then when we start having our kids, we start doing all the shit that we wished our parents did for us. But meanwhile, the boomers are fucking pulling up the ladder faster and faster and faster and faster, making housing costs higher, making education higher, making it just harder for us to be parents, all the while where they're looking down our necks, looking down our backs, bitching at us, asking why you aren't nearly as successful as we are. Bitch, because you rigged the fucking game to make it harder for us to be successful. Y'all are hoarding all the goddamn wealth. You're staying in your fucking jobs 20 years longer than the rest of us. We're trying to advance in the world, and you're holding the fucking lid on top of us. Get out of the way. Let us. Okay, well, we're going to get out of the way, but we're going to keep our Social Security and make it harder for you to get. So you're going to have to work 15, 20 years longer than we did. Suck it, bitches. And making it harder for us, making it harder for our kids. They fucking even betrayed themselves. All the high deals that they went into office with, all the high deals that they started their professional career, all the high deals that they had when they were kids, gone. As soon as they started making money, fuck it all. We're going to show you guys. We're going to start merging companies. We're going to start the me generation. We're going to do everything we can. We're going to look out for number one, and number one is me. I'm going to do me. Everything the boomers did. Everything the boomers did through all their entire fucking professional career, all the way through retirement and going forward, is looking out for the boomers. Fuck their kids, fuck their kids' kids, fuck their kids' kids' kids, and fuck the parents that set them up so that they could be successful. The boomers had a 4 or even 5 generation, if you count the boomers themselves. Betrayal in America. The greatest generational betrayal in the history of this country, and it's ongoing today. Because who is stopping climate change legislation? Boomers. Who is stopping the transition from fossil fuel to renewable fuel? Boomers. Who made it who kept cutting taxes so we didn't have enough income for our federal government to maintain our infrastructure? Boomers. Who continued to cut the taxes so that we can't maintain the infrastructure for our local schools, for our local municipalities, for our local counties, for our states? Boomers. All of it goes back to this derangement of boomers going from reasonable, rational, moderate government to this hyper-conservative, starve the beast bullshit, all because some old motherfucker said, the problem we have today is that government is the problem. Instead of remembering the entire quote, they only remember the last half of it, where he says, government is the problem. Government's not the problem. In this particular circumstance, government was the problem back in the mid-70s. But now, you got corporations that are bigger than government. You got Elon fucking Musk turning off the entire internet for an entire goddamn country that's being attacked by Russia. How is government the problem when corporations have more power than government? Corporations are bigger than you. Have several corporations here in the United States of America that make more money than 3/4 of the of the GDP of entire fucking countries. How is government the problem? The problem with government is we don't have enough of it to manage and maintain and regulate the corporations that don't give a flying fuck about you, your rights, your well-being, or anything else. They're putting fucking bone meal, corn, wheat, and soy products in food that we give to our animals. What the fuck do you think they're putting in our food? If we didn't have regulations that stopped them from putting that shit in our food, what do you think they'd be feeding us? And that's a rhetorical question because we know what they would be feeding us, because back in the early part of the 20th century, we know it because we had the jungle that was written that told us what they were putting in our food. Sawdust, bone meal, human flesh, all that shit. You want to know what goes into sausage? No, you don't, because Jan didn't show up to work on Wednesday. Why didn't Jan show up to work on Wednesday? Because he fell in the fucking vat on Tuesday. He's at work. He never left. We know this. We know what happens when corporations have too much control because it's happened before. And what's happened in the last 40 years? Fucking boomers have completely and totally annihilated the generational compact where they don't just simply act as good stewards of what they have, but also hand over a better country to the next generation. What have they handed us that's better than what they received? They've weakened the EPA. They've weakened the Labor Relations Board. They've weakened the transportation. They've weakened. They fucking ruined space exploration. Like, we had to get them the fuck out of the way so that we could go back into space and go back to the moon and go back to Mars. They were handed this gorgeous, beautiful, amazing agency in NASA, and they went, you know what we're gonna do? We're just gonna fucking go into orbit. Like, fucking, your parents went to the fucking moon, man. They literally put a man on the moon, and what did you do? You said, man, we're good. Come on. Come on. That is generational betrayal of the highest order. How dare you? And that's not to say all boomers. It's not to say all of them. But as a generation, people that voted for the people that fucked us. Yeah. What was it, 49 states that elected Reagan? And we're still being told that trickle-down economics isn't just some old man pissing on us from a high place? Yeah. They fucked us. They fucked us for years. Name one thing they didn't fuck up. Civil rights, voting rights, labor relations, space, transportation. I mean, we could have had electric cars 30 years ago. Fully electric infrastructure. 30 fucking years ago. We don't. Why? Boomers. fucking boomers. We could have had, we could have a fucking settlement on Mars right now. Why don't we? Fucking boomers. We could have had a superconductor in Waxahachie, Texas, before CERN was built over there in fucking Europe. But it was too expensive. Why? Boomers. We had to have missiles instead of a superconducting supercollider. Fucking boomers. It all goes back to the boomers. Underfunded Social Security, underfunded Medicare, refusal to expand Social Security, refusal to expand Medicare. We could have a universal basic income right now if it weren't for the fucking boomers. All of the progress that we saw in the 40s, 50s, and 60s and into the 70s stopped in the 80s. Stopped. Seized up. Why? Why did it all stop in the 80s? Boomers. Boomers. All stopped. It wasn't my generation. I was 5 years old in 1980. Gen X, Gen Y, they hadn't even been born yet. Gen Z, they hadn't been born yet. Boomers. People born in the 40s, hitting their prime. 30s, 40s, 50s, in the 80s. They were hitting their prime in the 80s. They were hitting their highest earning potential, their highest political power, their highest their peak potential right there, right at the beginning of the 80s. Everything stopped. Everything fucking stopped. Everything. Wasn't my fault. Wasn't my generation. Now, granted, there's a significant portion of my generation whose brains have been spoiled. Ted Cruz. Wasn't my generation. We're trying to fix things. We were smaller than any other fucking generation out there. We had to bide our time and wait for the next generation, and then the next generation to come of age. The generation that came of age with the school shootings. Yeah, we've been waiting for those guys because those guys are going to help us vote these other old fuckers out of office. They're a combination of death and motivation. It's going to get them out of office. Fucking boomers. Anyway. Anyway, cancer does feed off cancer. Back when I was researching how to defeat it, due to an SO, a significant penetrator, sugar is part of the recipe and test cancer chicken. Oh, yeah. Feeds off sugar. Yeah, I figured that's what you meant. Feeds off of sugar. Yeah, I mean, it terrifies me. Because I'm fat. I'm obese. I'm trying to get back in shape. I let myself go over the last couple of years. I'm obese. I know I have some underlying health problems that can be solved if I drop 30 pounds. Just absolutely fucking terrifies me. And at some point, I'm going to get terrified enough to get motivated to get off my ass. I've already started, but at some point, I'm going to get terrified enough to get off my ass to really jumpstart and really get it going. I mean, it took me a year and a half, 2 years to get where I'm at. It's going to take me a year and a half, 2 years to solve the problem. But Steph bought mint when he found out he had cancer and went to private clinic to get treated instead of waiting Canadian health. Yeah, and see, that's the thing. There's not a perfect system. There's not a perfect system, and the vision that I think was to be implicated with the ACA was like this 2-tiered system where you had like a basic standard of care. A basic standard of care where everybody was covered. And then if you wanted something above that, you went above that. But like there was a basic standard of care. And then you could go outside or above that basic standard of care. And, you know, it's kind of a 2-tier system where there's the system for the rich and the system for the poor. But you kind of already have that where like poor people go to the emergency room because they don't have health care. They don't have insurance. But like there should be this baseline Like, if you get sick, you go to the and part of it's supply of doctors, and there's other structural stuff. There's no one silver bullet, but there's ways to do this, and it's really hard to do it when you have one group of people, maybe 400 people in the entire country, whose entire philosophy is, fuck it, let the poor people die. And that's kind of what we have. And it's frustrating as hell. Cheers, Nick Nepper. Welcome to the party. Glad you're here. But I am happy to say that I've called my senator's Washington office and Houston office and asked if there's any words of wisdom that I can give to my friend's son, since our senator does have a direct conduit with God, who, God did tell him to run for president in 2015, 2016, after spending 3 hours on his knees in a Baptist church. Bullshit. God told him to run for president. Bullshit. So at the very least, somebody who has a direct line with God should be able to have some words of wisdom for her son to tell him why he's so opposed to his mom having health care. I don't expect I'll hear back from my senator's office, but it was definitely cathartic to make that phone call. At least a little bit. I also asked them to deliver the message. I hope he burns in hell, and I hope he lives the rest of his days knowing that he will burn in hell and his flesh will be eternally seared from his bones. But I don't think they're going to deliver that message. I don't think they will. Inglewood, California grew up a major part of the migration era. Say this, Net Positive was a fantastic Mexican food, even here in Washington State. And see, me personally, I don't like Mexican food. I like Tex-Mex. I like Tex-Mex. Tex-Mex and Mexican food are very different things. I like Tex-Mex much more than I like Mexican food. How do I spell the name of that water park? S-C-H, I'll type it down here. Schlitterbaun, I think. It's Schlitterbaun Water Park. Schlitterbaun. My fondest memory, I can say this because my lovely wife isn't listening. My fondest memory of Schlitterbaun, I went to Schlitterbaun as a high school student before I met my wife, so this isn't bad. My fondest memory of Schlitterbaun is watching Casey, last name redacted. I had such a crush on her. Watching her go down the water slide in that. It was an off-white bathing suit. God. Fondest memory of Schlitterbaun. It's a beautiful water park, and Casey was gorgeous. I had a deep crush on Casey. I also had a girlfriend at the time who was a psychopath. Anyway, they also have a Schlitterbaun in Galveston, and I think Corpus Christi too. So I think there's 3 Schlitterbauns in the state of Texas. How do you spell it? And oh yeah, it was a wild story I actually told my dad about today. We both heard of her from the radio show, The Men's Room, and where I met her. What? Met who? What are you talking about? Anyway. You did. You sent me on a whole nother fucking rant about baby boomers. I'm going to write that one down too. Baby boomers. I'll write down baby boomers. Mark that off my list. I did healthcare. I can mark that off my list. Haven't gotten to fucking Glenn yet, but Glenn is actually related to the high school. The Glenn, if I see, here's the thing. I don't have a lot of animus towards Glenn. He was a dude who had a crush on my girlfriend in high school, and he waited his turn, and he tried to break us up in high school. He tried to break us up in high school, but it didn't work because he was just a pathetic, dopey, dumpy doofus. But then after we finally broke up, she went, I think she might have even married him. I think she might have married him and moved to Italy with him. And then she moved back and went to Colorado, and then they got divorced. I can't fucking remember. So I don't really have a lot of animus towards Glenn, but it's just the notion, the idea, that he would sit there chirping on the sidelines. He's not really good enough for you. He's not really blah, 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 blah. And meanwhile, there's no way to say this without sound like a dick. Like, she was a bullet that I dodged, without question. And he was just a dopey little tool for her to take advantage of. It's not so much animus that I have towards Glenn. It's just like, I feel sorry for the dude. It's like he was just like, nah, I'm not even going to put him on my list. I'm going to take him off my list. I just feel sorry for Glenn. Glenn, you don't get a rant. You don't get a rant. You're not like Gary, who's a fucking piece of shit. Gary's a straight up piece of shit he was just garbage. Gary would literally target everybody else's girlfriends and try to break up you. And I don't get why people kept this son of a bitch around. Because like he would see y'all like, oh, you've got a new girlfriend, really? And then he would go flirt with your girlfriend and try and break. Like he would actively try to break y'all. Gary was a straight up piece of trash. Not like Glenn. Glenn was just a dopey, he was a dopey little puppy dog who was pining after somebody else's girlfriend. But he at least had the decency to sit in the background and shut up and wait until I dumped her ass before he moved in to start trying to hump her leg. Gary, on the other hand, you don't have the decency to just wait. As soon as you even mentioned that you were dating a new girl, he would, his little red rocket would start showing. He would just walk up and start trying to hump her leg. It's like, dude, at least show some fucking decorum. Show some goddamn decency. I mean, Jesus Christ, she's gonna sit on this side of me while we're at the theater, and you're gonna sit on this side. I'm gonna sit in between you and my fucking girlfriend. You douchebag. You're gonna sit over there. In fact, go over one more chair. Make sure there's the not a gay seat in between the two of us, which is what they used to be called. When you go to the theater, two guys go to the theater, they don't sit in the seats next to each other. There's always that one space in between. There's dude, space, dude. There's the not a gay seat in between the two dudes. This is how the 1990s was. This is how we're not proud of it. We Gen X, we're not proud of it. But, we'd say things like that's gay and that's retarded. We'd say stuff like that because there wasn't taboo against that yet in the 1990s. In the next century, there was taboo against that. But now, back in the 1990s, no. And it's also that urinal. When you go to the bathroom, there's 3 urinals. There's the 1, 2, 3. There's only 2 urinals in that bathroom. There's the urinal, the not a gay urinal, and the urinal. If those other 2 urinals are filled, then you use the one in the middle. But that's only because you have to, and you're not going to stand up in the toilet like a psychopath. You don't use the one in the middle. If there's 5 urinals on the wall, there's 1, not a gay, 2, not a gay, 3. 3 urinals that are available to be used. If those 3 urinals are filled, then only then do you use either of the other 2. But if you show up in a bathroom and there's 3 urinals already being used, then you can use one of the other 2. But if one of those 3 urinals comes empty, don't you dare saddle up the urinal right next to somebody. What the fuck kind of psychopath are you? There's 5 on the wall, 1, 3, 5. Those are the ones you use. This is how guys operate. Ladies, just so you know, ladies who happen to be strolling by watching this train wreck of a fucking live stream, just so you know, guys are weird like that. We're not just gonna pee in any urinal. We're gonna pee in a urinal where we don't accidentally see the next guy's penis. That's just how we work. And if the entire wall is empty, nobody's peeing, there's 5 toilets or 5 urinals right there on the wall. If your guy is the kind of guy that chooses number 2 or number 4, you need to break up with that dude because he is a psychopath and he is probably going to slap you around in ways that you're not going to like it. I'm just saying, if you're into that sort of thing, you've been warned. We're telling you, I'm telling you straight up, you're being warned. That dude, probably abusive, because he's a sociopath, not the kind of guy you want to be around. Just get away from him. I'm just saying. There's a proper protocol. 1, 3, 5. Odd number urinals. There's not 6. There's never 6. They don't ever have 6. There's not 4, there's not 6, there's not 8. There's 1, there's 5, there's 3. There might be 7 if it's a particularly big bathroom. I'm just saying. Now, at the Astrodome, when I was a kid, there was an actual fucking trough. It was an actual trough. It was, what was it? 5 feet wide, 4 feet wide, something like this. And it was just a trough, like an ice trough or a water trough that you would feed your cattle out of. And you just lined up and pissed in it, and that was fine. Everybody's pissing in a fucking bucket together. But that's different. That's not a urinal on a wall. When there's urinals on a wall, there's space. But if there's a trough, well, everybody would pick their own trough first. And if you had a trough and all the other troughs were full, you were on this side, this side of the trough, and then the next guy, if they had to, they'd come on this side of the trough, and there'd be a gap in the middle, but you kept your eyes on the wall. By God, you did not make eye contact with this guy. You made eye contact with it, you were risking getting stabbed. Don't you even make eye contact with the other guy over there at the trough. You stare at the wall like a good, reasonable, rational, responsible adult. Don't you dare look over there and try and make eye contact, because that's just weird. That's just weird. You're peeing. Well, what are you doing? What are you going to have a conversation with the guy? You've got a task to perform, and finish that task. Shake it off twice, no more than twice. If you do it 3 times, you're playing with it. Put it away and get out of there. Once you put it away, then you can say something. Yeah, great game, isn't it? But no, while it's hanging out, nah, keep your fucking mouth shut. Read whatever's on the wall. Finish. 2 shakes, not 3. 3's playing with it. Put it away. Then, and only then. Great weather we're having, right? Yep. That's it. There's your conversation. I don't know what the fuck you girls do in the bathroom when you talk and you air out your feelings and you solve the world's problems and you settle whatever disputes are going on in Yemen or Pakistan or whatever the fuck's going on. Guys have a particular thing they need to do in the bathroom, and generally that's use the bathroom, piss or poop. That's it. We're not putting on makeup or getting dressed or fixing our pantyhose or anything like that. I guess you girls, y'all got other things to do, but we got we've got a specific set of protocols, a very clear specific set of protocols. If there's not a partition between the urinals, then you at the wall. That's it. I've got a thing to do. Done. Shake, shake. Put it That fix it? Kind of fixed. Let's try this one more time. See if this fixes this. Maybe that'll fix the sound. I don't know if I have a... I'm working on it. Hold on. How far back was I muted, I wonder? Muted. Has that fixed it? That fixed it. That's terrible. It still kind of sucks. I don't think we lost much of I don't think we lost a whole lot of good audio. But that is my cue to wrap it up. To wrap this the fuck up. It really is. It's 1:30, 1:20. So let's talk about housekeeping. Let's wrap this up. I'm out. My drink's empty. I need to plug this motherfucker in. Why isn't this plugging in? All right, seriously. Why is this? There it is. Okay, plug it. You are off. You off? No, you're not off yet. 1, 2, 3. Off. Okay. Audio's solved. Thank you for the heads up. See, I count on you people to make sure to keep me square and straight and proper. I'll have this here to make it look like I have audio. Does this my microphone work? Oh, it does. All right, hang on. Let me plug this bitch in. Over here. Over here. Where is my microphone cord? There it is. See if that works. Did that work? Do we have audio? I think we do. Do I have audio through my mic? I think I do. Hot damn. All right, cool. Did that fix it? So I realized right before the show started that I had forgotten to plug in my wireless mic. But I have this one on backup, ready to go. Anyway, where were we? You want to know what people? I definitely don't want to know what women talk about in the bathroom because that's gross. Women suck. So I was talking about Gary. Yeah, I think we all know a Gary. I think we all know a Glenn. And like I said, I don't really have any animus towards them because they're just pathetic. But back where my Gary, yeah. I don't think I don't have a lot of animus towards Glens, but Garys are just fucking dicks. The worst kind of human beings. Sit there and just wait. They're like, oh, you gotta. They don't have they're not the ones who are looking for. They're not out looking for the girlfriend. They're looking for the girlfriend who's wounded. They're looking for the girl who's just gotten through the breakup, and the breakup that they caused with you. Just the absolute worst human beings. And Gary's I have animus for. Glenn's not so much. Glenn's they're just pathetic. But anyway, that's all. That's all I have to say about that. But let's go. Let's wrap this up. It's 1:27. Tomorrow night we have trivia. Friday night we have Returning champion Ryan Adam Wells joining us at the distillery live on all the channel. All the shows are out there. All the shows are on our channel. So hit the notification bell, hit the subscription bell, don't forget to subscribe. Notifications, subscriptions, all that stuff. We are at 862, which means I am 138 subscribers away from 1,000. We had 1,000 subscribers. By the end of November, I will fight a kangaroo. 1,000 subscribers by the end of November, I will fight a kangaroo. But in the meantime, tomorrow, I got to get up in the morning. I got to send some kids off to school. I got some work to do and all the other stuff. Cheers to all you fine folks out there in the internet. Be awesome to each other. Think with your whole brain, love with your whole heart, and fucking vote like your life depended on it, because in some cases it actually does. Cheers, and until tomorrow night, I am and will continue to be the Old Humble Guy, your sin merchant and spirit guide. Good night, everybody. Have a nice day. Have a nice night. Nice morning. Bye.